It's the Intergalactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 161. I'm Mel. That's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch. It's WrestleMania weekend, everybody. You ready for this? All right, check it out. All right, trigger warning for anybody who's sensitive to bright lights and flashing. Because, oh no, it's failing. Have failure again. See it. Wait, hang on. I'll find it. All right. Anyway, how's it going, Sam? Happy Easter. Happy 420.
Easter. Happy
Blessed
420.
Easter.
Happy WrestleMania weekend. Happy Sunday. If none of the other things apply to you, thank you for being here. Or if you're watching this because it's a holiday and you're watching later, happy whatever day it is that you're watching it. We hope you're having a good weekend. And wow.
See, okay, there you go. Seizure warning, triggers, flashing lights. We're going to have to put it in our notes now. Okay, and we'll leave it on there. Oh my gosh, what is happening here? This is crazy. So the funniest part about this, Sam, is that I found it in a thrift store. And I thought it was just a sparkly hat.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, that's cute. It's a fun sparkly hat. And Bob and I realized that there was lighting in it. So he fixed it for me before the show.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Hey, it worked. Even though Brad said that if you were not wearing bunny ears, either by themselves or as part of a hat, he's going to complain on social media for 5 whole minutes.
5 whole minutes?
5 whole minutes.
We appreciate the boost. We appreciate taking up space in your life and time. Thanks, Brad. we know you got our back.
Yes, and also,
make sure you whine a lot. Yes, and also.
Maybe but maybe because it has lights, he'll forgive you, and he will only complain for 3 minutes.
I felt more like I needed the flashing lights. I couldn't have pyro in my house. So I needed them Mania lights. Yeah. There we go. See, I'm glad that we could come to an agreement on the hat situation. It doesn't have ears, but it does have lights. And again, that's pretty fun. Okay. It's ooh, look, it's glowing. It's glowing.
Happy Easter to everyone who wished us a happy Easter. Hey, Eddie, thank you for joining us. So we are... especially if you're here live with Easter, I have Nikki will be here at some point. She is helping our mom with some Easter things because we have my mom's sister is coming over later. So they knew we were doing the podcast, so they were gracious enough to wait and do Easter after the podcast. So the plan, knock on wood, is to be out of here in about 2 hours ish. Or so, less than WrestleMania. We shall see how that works out. But that is the plan. And also, if you are doing things with your family or friends or whatever you're doing, we don't want to keep you from that either. And so we will try to get out of here in a timely manner. But then, of course, news keeps happening this week, and I was like, we're just supposed to talk about Mania matches we're watching, not all this other crap. And they're like, no, we're going to do all of the things this week. And last night I did the WrestleMania prediction show on our local establishments channel with a British man named Mark, who we had never met before doing that podcast yesterday. And
I wonder if he's the Mark that Jim had on a few months ago.
Mark Talks is his.
What was it?
Mark Talks is his display name.
Interesting. I wonder. Okay, but because this tracks was anyway. Keep going. You go.
So they have this really long intro video that plays before the show, and as that video's playing, I happened to I opened Blue Sky to see if our local podcast had posted anything that I needed to repost while we were waiting. And I open it, and there's Fightful's post that WWE purchased AAA, and I was like, so I sent him a message in the private chat, but I don't know if he saw it, but then he saw it from Post Wrestling on Blue Sky, and so literally as we were coming on the air, the news broke, and we had differing opinions on what that means, but I also learned very quickly that he is very much a WWE fan. So.
drinking the Connecticut water.
Maybe, I don't know. He's a very nice guy. Great, and so I really.
I get it. There's room in the world for everything.
I knew quickly that this was a place where I needed to keep certain opinions to myself and we just met. And it's his show, and I don't want to,
of course,
save it for my own show.
Correct.
But he was very nice, and they I really appreciate our local establishment. Invited me to be on yesterday. I had a really good time. And they're always great. They let me, on a ramble is Auntie Collins and Kyle's show about Ring of Honor. So I appreciate them, and they're great people over there. So I appreciate the opportunity to come chat with them for a little bit about WrestleMania, especially since I'm watching it anyway. So.
And Kyle was kind enough to step in for me once. So he's an honorary broad, obviously. So we enjoy Kyle, and Collins treats you so nice, and she was so kind to us last week that I mean, I almost feel like I know Collins without actually knowing Collins. And it's already bad enough, Sam, that old people still think that it's impossible for us to be friends because we've never met in person. So I mean, I only know her secondhand, so it's even like less likely that I could actually favorable. Because apparently we're still living in like the 90s with a lot very time warpy. Even WrestleMania was a little time warpy.
Listen, it is so time warpy that I was watching Sabu's final match and Sandman was there, and he got lost on his way to the ring. And it took him a very long time to get there, and then he only did like a couple things. Like he earned his paycheck, he did his spots, and then he peaced out. So
at least he didn't fall asleep,
No, because there was no hour-long Hall of Fame speech at 1:00 in the morning that they could fall asleep to.
I'm gonna turn that into that's gonna be a meme for us at some point because I have thoughts.
Yeah, luckily I did not have to subject myself to that, and I watched because actually by the time I was watching SmackDown, and then I moved it to my phone so that me and Nikki could have Joey Janela's Spring Break on the TV. Nice. Especially because by that point, I already go it because we do a thing Mondays and Fridays where it's they do it on Wednesdays too, but on Wednesdays and Fridays we do a loved hated column. It's 3 things we loved and 3 things we hated. So I had my hated a week beforehand because they didn't put Motor City versus Street Profits on WrestleMania. And then to make it even worse and to add more fuel to my fire, they made a TLC match for next Friday on SmackDown with DIY because DIY got involved in the match Friday night. And so now we're getting a TLC match on SmackDown. And so I was like, I had a lot to say about it. And so luckily by that time I already knew what I was going to hate. I was still watching SmackDown in case that, they needed me for anything, but I was mostly watching Joey Janela's Spring Break at that point because it started at 10:00 Eastern. So
nice. I did what I always do, which is to take advantage of the 7-day trial. And I always, ever since I've known you and you introduced me to the collective, I always watch Bloodsport first. That's my inaugural event. Anything else I managed to get to, which has been tricky because we're starting a new job right now and in our life and shifting the entire, sort of can talk about this a little bit is, a few months back, Bob actually lost his job. And so we've been transitioning to a new career and that's been a whole new thing. And so that has been taking up an enormous amount of my time.
Understandable.
And I really want to make sure when I keep wrestling for not bad times. I don't want to associate, it is my lift me up. It's my, one of the things that came out of this weekend and I re-skied it or whatever. I don't know what it is. It was -1 in the cluster.
We haven't got to. I haven't.
We
have not watched. Hey, we have not watched Cluster. I mean, I know he was in it, but Nikki doesn't. Well, now she does. We haven't watched it. It came on at 2:00 this morning, and we were still watching Ashe. We haven't watched. We're getting to that tonight, probably, or this.
Someone posted a clip of it, though. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry if I spoiled that for everyone.
Don't say anything else about it because she doesn't know. It was spoiled for me on Who Won by a mutual follower that Nikki and I have.
Oh, I didn't see the win. I just saw the one.
She has not seen it, but I was like, she doesn't know any. She doesn't know anything else about it.
Sorry, I didn't
it's okay.
It's so hard to keep track of
everything. But since you don't know the winner, it doesn't matter.
It's still the point being is that
I know who won.
The wholesome moments that come out of the weekend that are not a part directly of WrestleMania are so great, and it's so much fun. And this year's Bloodsport was amazing. It was just God bless that old school carny, Josh Barnett. I am so glad somebody is keeping Catch and Shoot alive. It's in my wheelhouse. It never disappoints me. I never feel like I waste that 2 hours. And they don't overstay their welcome. Timothy Thatcher versus Pete Dunne. Come on. That
was a really good, and then it also just reminds you that WWE has had both of them in their orbit for years and didn't take advantage and give us that match.
Oh God, no. The whole half that card was people that are just, it's God, WWE's releases are so just, I don't know. I don't get them. And then of course, like you said, it's we have everything planned out and then they decide they're going to buy AAA right in the middle of our weekend after everybody else's show. And it's are you really doing this? And because of course we've talked about the things that are associated with that in the past, it was, and I even had a friend say to me, mark my words, it'll be gone in 3 years. And I kind of was like, duh, because that's the WWE model.
It is very unfortunate for multiple reasons that happened. First of all, it's heading back to it. That's them. That just shows you they do not want competition. They want a monopoly. Nothing that will never change, no matter, just because Vince is not there does not mean that things have changed that much, because that is his philosophy. He does not want competition. And Correct. So they're purchasing it in saying, because Triple H talked about, his tweet was about furthering sports entertainment. Well, yes, you're very good at sports entertainment. And that's from what I understand, AAA is basically a WWE version of Lucha Libre. It is not, as Triple H as Paul Levesque called it, he called it traditional Lucha Libre. And a lot of people who watch Lucha Libre was like, he doesn't know what the product is, because that's not traditional. AAA is not traditional Lucha Libre. CMLL is. Conan is there. Conan books it like a watered down WWE.
Not to mention, look at the people who owned it. They introduced the owners of it. Look at those people. Those don't look like wrestling fans. Those are rich.
Oh, the lady with the helmet hair.
Those two people look. Listen, there's billionaires everywhere, folks. It doesn't have to be American. That is
for sure.
Those people, the people that own that company are rich, like Vince, like Triple H.
TKO is behind this.
I mean,
they want, and TKO was testing the waters, obviously this week with some of the things that they were doing.
They've been trying to buy other companies for always.
Yeah. And then, there's, Kevin Kelly just tweeted out, New Japan might be next. Shut the fuck up. They are not going to sell to WWE. That is not happening. Noah, maybe
Saito would like a word, because he's already covered the chances of that happening on Pacific Rim. And if you need, I'll search out that thing, because
we'll find the link, or tell Fumi to post the link again. That's not going to happen. They're not.
He cut a promo practically on how that was never going to happen.
He just he's trying to be real. He just is trying. He hates AEW so much because they fired him that he just says whatever he wants to. That's not happening. Noah, perhaps, probably, maybe Marigold at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if they're, that gets in the, they try to go for that. Clearly, they keep saying TNA is going to be separate. TNA. I didn't have them purchasing AAA before TNA on my bingo card, but here we are.
I'm a little concerned because now that I've seen what's going on with the ID program, and I mean, some of the ID prospects, the two people that were on our show last week were in Vegas this week on some of the undercard performance stuff that was going on in Vegas, because the PC people went to Vegas to have like mini shows. And Sam Holloway was on that.
Yeah, and they had that
Freedom
thing. Like,
Ramsey was in Vegas.
We'll get to it when we talk about one of the things that happened on Joey Janela's spring break show, but I'm almost positive. I was positive. I thought a few weeks ago somebody had been ID'd, but after the match they had at Joey Janela's spring break, I'm almost guaranteed that they've been ID'd and they're getting ready to come, because they did say they were going to announce. They would announce more people who had been ID'd after WrestleMania. So they're clearly about to name, some more people. But it's just, again, like, I want to be, when they announce the ID thing, when they announce that, a lot of us had the same reaction, was this is going to mess up the indies. This is that. Because again, as Mel and I always say, we want people to get paid.
Yes.
We want them to be happy with where they work. That has nothing to do with them. We have watched how this company operates for decades. They try to put it under different things to make it look nice and shiny, but we know what's really happening. We're not stupid. And so that's why, and I get it. Like, I get these companies coming in and saying all these positive things about the ID program, and I'm sure so far it has been. But when they take from you what they want and then they toss you to the side, then what? Then you're back in the same place, or you're going to be worse off than you were before, because now they've taken your talent and they don't care about the talent coming in. And that's a concern, that they're going to and then they're just going to hoard again like they did before, and then they'll release them again, and in 3 to 5 years they'll have another mass release, and it's just the same cycle that repeats over and over again. And so maybe is a pessimistic view to look at it, but I'm not. They're playing in your face. They do it all the time. Yeah. Just because it's now Paul Levesque is now the face of that company doesn't mean it's not the same bullshit that the McMahons have done for 50 years.
Oh, I caught the end of the pre-show because I wasn't willing to sit through that part too. But I caught the end of it, and the idea that Stephanie was sitting there like, oh, isn't it great that Paul brought us all these things? And I'm just like, girl.
Luckily, I did not see that. I turned it on like right
at the beginning. I mean, I watched it.
Turned it on right at 8 o'clock.
I mean, I get it out of our system. I mean, we get it out of our system. But I mean, it was, for me, it was, night one was very
mid.
We were whelmed at best.
It was mid. It was most of the matches were Raw at best. They weren't Mania level matches. A lot of them were not. It just, the build, like, and I think it just, a lot of, like, the build going into the show was not great for 90% of the stories. And then all this other bullshit that happened during the week just really took me out of it. And it just, I didn't really, I mean, it wasn't like god awful, because I've sat through way worse things, but it was not, I mean, it had its moments. Like, I thought Jade and Naomi was really fun. That was one of the matches I was really looking forward to. I enjoyed that. Happy for Jey Uso. We all knew that was coming. Was surprised Tiffany retained. So the ending, I knew that was gonna happen. We all pretty much called it after after Monday night's promo. We all called that Rollins was going to leave with Paul Heyman, and that's exactly what happened. Like, so some of it, like, you could just, they telegraphed it, you could call it out, but then, like, I was like, New Day versus Viking Raiders was a Raw match, and it was unfortunate because I like both of those teams, but they didn't, and they have, they've been feuding a little bit, but they proved that match should have been Street Profits versus Motor City, or that should have been the TLC match, because that was just a match I could turn on any random Raw, and that would be the match that I see. And so,
yeah, I'm not like, because I'm not a regular watcher, what I did was I watched along with our Discord live thread. So
Yeah.
it was kind of watching with people who knew. And I was kind of like, is this normal? Is this what's not like going on? I did the Americano Grande
I
thing.
hate that. I hate that damn story.
I didn't even realize that. I guess I didn't. Whoa. I mean,
That's only been that story only started like 3 weeks ago.
And I get that it's Chad Gable and it's fine.
Well,
but
what I hate about that, well, besides
that
the
makes
obvious,
it worse,
besides the obvious that it's blatantly racist. That's how. First of all, you
like
keep
appropriation much.
Why do you hate Chad Gable? Like, first you give him that stupid Shorty G gimmick for a while, and then you put him under a mask. That was Chad Gable's first WrestleMania, and it's him playing a racist caricature. That's how you get your first Mania match. And then Rey Fenix got thrown into the Rey Mysterio. Because they made on Friday night on SmackDown, they made a 6-man match. Rey Mysterio got injured,
hurt,
and missed WrestleMania. So they had to throw Rey Fenix in. That was Rey Fenix's 4th match, because Friday night he was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. So I guess that counts as his 3rd match. WrestleMania was his 4th match ever in that company, and he got thrown into it. Probably because, I mean, Dragon Lee would have made a lot of sense because Dragon Lee's been with Rey longer, but probably because they could easily just change out Rey Mysterio and say Rey Fenix. So they're probably just like, here, we'll just do this now. And they made the best of the situation. But and then that's how they bring Vikingo in on TV, is to bring him in to this story like this. And I hate that Vikingo's first exposure to WWE universe is being involved in a story that is mocking his culture. And it's all of it. It's so gross. I hate that story with a passion.
Bob and I literally looked at each other like, is this really happening? Is it 1989?
And like the video that they played, the first time that it aired and they had like the video package, it was a bunch of AI that they used to make the video.
Of course it was. That makes
it
sense.
was just like, it's just one shitty thing after another with that story. And I hate that Chad Gable is the one who got stuck with this. I don't want that gimmick on anybody, but for somebody like Chad Gable, that's the gimmick you stick him with. And he's been with your company.
I'd rather be like, if I was Chad Gable, I'd almost want to be under a mask because I'd be so ashamed of what was happening. So not a lucha mask, but maybe like a bag.
Yeah, and I guess like the way it ended, like, because they prior to them announcing that they purchased AAA, they announced the Worlds Collide event on June 7th. Shockingly, right after AEW and CMLL announced that AEW would be coming to Arena Mexico.
Yeah, that was, I saw the
from what I have read. I've only been able to do a little bit of reading so far because obviously there's been a lot, but they've been kind of talking about it, keeping it close to the vest, and then they made the deal. The deal was finalized after AEW announced that they were coming to Arena Mexico. So again, AEW is not a threat to them.
But we also have to go out and buy a bunch of their talent and their label that they work for. Yeah.
So, but I just, it's,
I don't know, man. It sucks because of all the people. Hey, Nikki, welcome. It sucks because of all the people that like are going to get lost from the indies and from AEW and from all those other places. It sucks for the industry because it does limit competition and it does prove that they are the same old company. That match that honestly is the like most WWE way to roll out buying a Mexican company I can think of. I mean, this is why it continues to be not for me.
Right. It just, that company is very not, I mean, because of thanks to capitalism. And I have to endure it. I have to get, at least I'm getting paid to watch it, but sometimes it's almost not even worth it. But like I technically had the option of not covering WrestleMania last night, but I need new brakes on my car. So I was like, I'm gonna watch because capitalism, because I got those brakes.
You know what? At least
those brakes aren't gonna pay for themselves.
I mean, at least in some form or fashion, in the way of redistribution. TKO is paying for that. So
Well, I also need a valve replaced as well.
So you're giving them, you're getting their money somehow, and you're at least using like a fraction of it to pay for those brakes and suspension and so forth.
Right. It's just like
those fractions of cents are like all you have, so cling to them because that they would. That they would steal them from you.
That is true. I was really close to taking him up on the offer just because I didn't want to watch it, especially after everything else. I was like, I could catch up on my wrestling is not complete. Like I still have 3 singles matches. There's 3 individual matches I still need to watch from Mania weekend, and then now the clusterfuck, which was not on. It would not have been on at the time anyway because it didn't start till 2 a.m. here. But I considered it, and I was like, I need breaks. It's like, and I got to get that valve cover replaced. I'm gonna just suck it up and just watch it and get paid. Yes, exactly. Make money, as our friend Jeff Hawkins likes to say, get paid. And so that's what I did. Me too. Maria.
Welcome to everyone in the chat. We are not ignoring you.
No, I'm going to come over to. I've seen some discussion, and actually, USVA guy has some comments I definitely want to get to. We were just. Since we were having, I guess now is as good a time as any to get over here.
I'm ready.
Because we don't want to spend forever on this subject, but it is important. And it is unfortunately a topic that's going to keep coming up, obviously, as this plays out, because it's going to be interesting. Also, Brad says that the clusterfuck was absolute dog poop. Ending was pretty damn great. So are you saying that I should just skip 2.5 hours and just jump to the end? So Brad said, it's very hard for a non-Japanese entity to buy a Japanese company. These laws are in place to make sure of that. And Cyberfight, who owns Noah, is filthy rich and doesn't need money. Yeah, and I've heard that before, that when that topic has come up, that it's harder for non-Japanese entities to buy Japanese companies. And that's definitely something that's
super hard. Like, this is not easy.
Considering
they've been poking around in Japan for years. Even Fumi has talked about that.
And considering, but I also know, considering the current administration we have, that could be something that becomes easier, over the, in the future. Will it happen in 4 years? That's, tough to say. But I do know, there is that. But USVA guy says, the money in Mexico involved with wrestling flows freely. The acquisition makes sense for AEW and WWE. Oh, it makes more. It does, but in that sense, in the fact that, but WWE is going to completely consume them, and probably, we saw what happened to the British indie scene.
They'll do what they always do. We saw what happened to WCW. We saw what happened to ECW.
And maybe
they happened to Evolve.
And maybe they do operate independently of each other for a bit, where AAA continues to run things as they have it and gets money for it. But who knows how long that will last. In the beginning, to look for, to make everybody calm down and be like, see, they do all of this.
Nothing to see here.
Their champion is Alberto Del Rio. That's Triple H's champion. And the contention, there's the relationship with them. This man you can look it up. He held a woman hostage. Like, this is not, you can Google it. This happened just a few years ago, that he held a woman hostage for several days. Like, this is the type of person that is their champion. Then you have, as AAA ends last night on their television program that obviously they film in advance. I'm not sure what the turnaround is for that, but it ended with JBL saying that he purchased the company. Like, so in character, John Bradshaw Layfield owns AAA. I don't know how much of this will come back to like, if this was already pre-planned. Just depending on the timing of this deal and how long they've actually been talking about it. Apparently, they've been talking about it for several months. Was this prior to the JBL story of JBL in character, in kayfabe, purchasing them? I don't know. Or did this storyline come about because WWE was going to purchase them and then they just added the JBL thing into it?
That sounds like a WWE thing.
And it just happened to be that way.
WWE is very strategic about the way they do things. They've always been that way.
Again,
and Hunter does not Paul Levesque is Vince McMahon's protege. He's his son-in-law. He's his, like, I mean, he wanted to be a better version of Vince all the way back to like when he was cutting promos in the indies. He's always wanted that. Right. He's always seen himself as like the head of the thing.
And that goes into, before we go into more comments, but since you said that about how everything is strategic, everything they did this week was strategic. So having John Cena tell the New York Times that he doesn't care what anybody thinks, he loves Vince McMahon. Strategic. Having Roman Reigns say in Variety, he didn't come out and say he voted for Trump, but he did say he politically supports him, or that he does support him. But he did not straight up say he voted for him. So it could be that they are like, hey, say that you publicly support him. We're trying to appeal to the UFC fan base. We would like the UFC fans to come to WWE. If our biggest superstar says that they support the president, maybe they'll come over here and spend money with us. It feels like that was an unprompted thing. I mean, maybe he truly does support him, but seeing the way all of this played out this week very much felt like they knew what they were doing. They were, instead of talking about WrestleMania, Nick Khan was talking about AEW and how a lot of their talent's going to jump ship and come to them. How they're,
a week.
Triple H is Paul Levesque is making these comments about about creative and how fans' new word, their new buzzword is pivoting and like these type of things. So but people kept saying, where is WWE's PR? Their PR guy must have quit. No, they know exactly what they're doing. This is right out of the TKO playbook. This is what they have done. This is what TKO has done to the UFC, from a friend of mine who is very much involved in both wrestling and MMA, and he's been warning about this since the day TKO purchased WWE. He was like, they are going to become exactly the same. And so that's what they're doing. They are trying to appeal to UFC fans to get them to come spend money for WWE. And because UFC fans don't care as much about certain things. Even though apparently last night when they showed Dana White on TV, he got booed.
Both times.
Yes. So they haven't completely,
Garrett was hilarious because he was like, they showed Dana White the first time he got booed and they didn't get the message, so they showed him again. He was like, what?
I mean, maybe it was just a prank. Maybe it was just to troll Dana White. Was like, they don't like you here. But so it feels like everything they were doing this week was strategic. Like they're not stupid. They know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And so all these people are like, man, WWE's PR person must have quit. They must be, they knew what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. Because
they're very subversive, and they always have been. You don't get right in people's faces. You do crap behind the scenes. That's what Ari Emanuel has always done. That's his MO.
Yes. Right.
Like,
and this is going to be continued.
Nothing surprised me that happened. How about that? Nothing. No. When I heard everything that I heard, at no point did I go, that's shocking.
No,
I went,
I think the only thing with the Roman Reigns thing is that they used him to do it. Like, I think if that had come from Logan Paul, nobody would have been surprised. If it had been from, certain people, that wouldn't have been a surprise at all. But to have it be Roman Reigns, I think is probably what got people's attention. But and maybe he does support him, but it felt like because he didn't straight up say I voted for him. He just says it was clear who I was voting for. Like, he just says all this thing like around it that felt very much like, please say positive things about him. Because he is a WWE Hall of Fame member and we're probably going to need him. And also Linda works for him. So please say nice things is how it read.
And then a friend of mine was telling me that CM Punk was taking shit because he's supposedly a liberal, but he's working for a company that's
again in WWE. Well, Sami Zayn works for them, but Sami Zayn works for them too, and he's very open about what he does in Syria and about freeing Palestine, and he works for them.
Yeah,
There's we go back to this. There are two major companies in WWE, I mean in America, that can pay TV money, and it's AEW and WWE. That's it. TNA can't pay that. GCW can't pay that. So you've got two choices. And so he can still be all of these things and work for them because the other place fired him. But it's the same thing. Sami Zayn works there, and Sami Zayn is very open about his politics. So I think that argument you can't use because there's two companies here and that's it. And you can't, I mean, we've talked about that before. Unfortunately, WWE is involved in a lot of shady shit.
I just thought it was interesting that people were like, I'm like, guys, it's CM Punk. Like, what?
Right. But yeah, because I saw that argument too, and I'm like, well, there's two companies and that can pay CM Punk.
You think this is like, you think there's morality involved here?
Not wrestling.
Come on now. I think we've seen where that guy's moral standards lay, and I think at the end you're right. Like, who isn't a hypocrite in this business?
Right. And that goes for anybody, because I mean they're literally, there's nobody, like, even if like there's two companies that can pay big money, so somebody is going to end up having to be hypocritical of them, of the things that they stand
businesses.
For, because
they're trying to make money. They're corporate, like their end game, like just like any company. I don't go out and be like, I'm going to start a company to be nice. The end game is profit. I'm sorry, it sucks. It's one of those things that we have. I mean, the political commentary aside, it's just the truth. They have to money. They have to make it, just like us.
Right. Exactly. So USVA guy also says, do not be surprised if there's a relationship between New Japan and WWE. That doesn't mean that WWE or anyone associated with the company will acquire New Japan. It just shows that people will talk.
Well, money's money. Enough. And
right.
Japan's in a recession, and all the madness with the trade war is what it is. So
right. Jermaine says everyone needs to give TK his props. He gave you a Dynamite that was better than the first night of WrestleMania, with the women opening the show with Mercedes versus Athena, and with Mercedes winning the match. And then the women main evented night 2 and got the highest ratings on Collision.
Nice. When
they main evented in a tag match.
I gotta hand it to Tony. I even I pushed a friend to check out Wednesday's Dynamite because it was excellent. It was a great show. It was
really, really great.
Even
other than one segment, that show was a
yeah. I mean, there was still like
other than the NJF segment.
And actually, when you take both days together and the whole thing as a it's really nitpicky because that was free. He gave it to us for free.
Yeah.
That Takeshita and Will match went in my journal. And I mean, they've already really wrestled.
I don't know. It was, Nikki and I were talking about it. I was like, I don't know if it was better than the Revolution match because we saw that in person. But it's right up there. But I was like, they were both incredible.
That was that was one of my friend's favorite matches from last year. So that was why. And it was still like, oh my God, how do you guys keep doing this?
No, it was really, really good. Like that
was a pay-per-view match. We got a pay-per-view match on a TV.
Both of them, because Athena versus Mercedes was a pay-per-view match. That was
vindicating Sam, who has been saying for like a year or like 6 months at least that they could do a match here and then run it back at All In, which makes it mean more. And I think after that match, it will mean more. So
yeah, absolutely. It lived up to the hype. It surpassed the hype. It was a dream match, and I think that it lived up to everything that I wanted. I couldn't ask for anything better than that match. I thought they delivered, and the ending was good. Like, because I saw some people, I guess, complaining about the roll up, but I think that just shows how. I think the point was that just shows how hard they were. Like, nothing was working. So a basic roll up was the only, and it was a quick roll up that she had. If she hadn't got it in, the match would have had continued. So I think I'm fine with a roll up win in that situation. Jordan says New Japan, AEW, and CML stardom relationship is all it stands in the way of a monopoly. Yeah, yes, I agree with I completely agree with that. Brad says that I wonder how Stephanie feels now that this is about Stephanie Vacour, not Stephanie McMahon. Feels now that her ex that committed femicide is also under contract with WWE, and how Conan called her a liar and started a rally for her exes there too, and it books Triple H. Well, and then they trotted her out there for the announcement, which, pissed me off.
And
when
there
I
was
saw
some
that.
discussion, I guess BJ pointed out that one of the reasons that was potentially cited and largely cited that she didn't sign a contract with AEW was because of the relationship.
Well, that was
with
that's the
Blay.
theory that you and that's a theory that I have heard since the thing was, we've talked about
BJ
it.
seemed to, BJ was talking to us about.
BJ and I have talked about it.
I don't know.
That was a theory that you and I talked about it on this show back when it happened, and BJ and I have talked about it, and that's where that came from. But I have heard other people have said it. I mean, that was a theory that had come out at the time that she signed, that played a factor into it, because Rush Andralístico publicly supported her abuser, got flack for it, and quickly deleted it. And then they were on one show together in AEW, and then people started talking about it and brought it up again, because it had been a while since that had happened. And then after that, they kept them on separate shows. If Rush was booked, then Stephanie would not appear, or it was a taped thing. Like, I think Rush appeared one time, but it was a pre-taped segment that aired, and she was on the show later. So they tried to keep them separated at that point. But they were also, at that time, they were pushing Rush. And then they kind of quit after Stephanie left. But there were some other things I think that was going on with Rush as well. But,
well, there's always something going on with Rush, it seems.
Yes. And
whatever that is.
But yeah, that is something, like, I definitely thought about that. Like, and not only that is clearly way worse, but then also the fact that Stephanie said that they wouldn't pay her what AEW would to go to AEW, but then they played on her emotions of being a lifelong WWE fan to get her. So they essentially lowballed her, then played on her emotions to get her to sign with them and go to NXT instead of the main roster, which is where she wanted to go. And now they bought a whole ass promotion. So that's what they're going to want. They're going to keep doing things like that, where they're going to lowball talent, but then be like, well, now we have AAA and you can go wrestle in Mexico and you can learn from, you can learn their style, or you can essentially go on excursion.
Well, this is why I'm not sure if Mariah's going to WWE, because
even prior to that, go ahead.
Well, I know that the talk is out there, but there's a lot of talk out there that she's just using it as leverage, and as she should. She needs to get paid too. She saw what Mercedes got paid. She's a really good wrestler. I don't know, because I don't have any inside knowledge on this one. I'm completely flying blind. It's just my feeling is that these events occurring would signal to me that she's more using that as leverage than going there. But maybe she does want to go there. And yeah, it's hard to say.
That was one of the things this was even prior to, like, the AAA stuff that, obviously, who knows how that changes things. But that's kind of what I thought too. I was like, I do, for me, I feel like Mariah is being smart, and she is leveraging the companies against each other to get a payday, which she should be doing. Randy Orton did the same thing a year and a half ago. That man was never leaving. He is a career WWE guy, has never wrestled for anything outside of OVW and WWE. He was never going. But
there's a reason that talented sports stars and musicians and so forth have agents.
Right. And there's only two promotions in this country that can afford to pay similar to each other. Those are your options. If you want to get paid, you got two options. That's it.
And Tony needs to keep talent, so he is over a barrel a little bit
and
here.
And she has been, but since the original report came out that her contract was up this summer, they said, but Tony Khan is working on retaining her. So it's never been a question of him not retaining her. And there's only, from what I have seen, there's only one person reporting that she might be going to WWE, and it's Dave. Nobody else was reporting that. Only he said it. And that's where this all snowballed, because Dave said, oh, well, she's going, he says that and maybe he knows, maybe somebody, clearly he's not just making it up. Somebody has clearly told him this, but somebody told Dave that Mariah told him that she wasn't re-signing, and that after she dropped the title, and that's why they ended the feud the way that they did. I don't know that I believe that, but apparently that's what Dave has been told. And so then, of course, he reported it because that's what he has heard. And now it has snowballed into this giant thing. when
And here's my
and
struggle.
even Sean Ross Sapp like responded to somebody and he was like, no, they are still trying to retain her. It is not a done deal that she's going there. She's still under contract through the summer. Like her contract's not even up. So that would be contract tampering.
It's hard for me to take Dave seriously when it comes to women's wrestling, because his interest in women's wrestling isn't there. So he may have heard what he heard, and that may be true. And I don't disbelieve Dave. I don't think he's out there spreading rumors or anything.
That's
of
what I'm
that
saying.
nature.
Clearly somebody has told him that.
Somebody may have said that to him. Now, whether or not that is a reliable report or not, I question, because again, what circles is he running in? He's not aware of, like, compared to the level of like when you're talking about women's wrestling and where some of the other women online, like Lyric and other people like that, are speaking about women and wrestling, and you all us timekeepers, as they, those those stopwatch people, as they, and that's it right there.
Right.
The disdain of dealing with quote stopwatch people. It's hard for me to take one single report from a person who's not overly excited about women's wrestling, even though it's Dave.
Right.
So my personal skeptic filter says, let's see what happens. That's a really good leveraging point. She saw what Mercedes got paid. She sees where Athena's going. She sees how important she is. She knows that Toni Storm is going to get paid, probably coming up here if she hasn't already. She should almost definitely be using that as a leverage point. Any other athlete would do the same thing.
And again, you have two companies to choose from that can pay what. So if Mariah wants to get paid, there's two options for her in the United States. So of course, any smart wrestler would do the same, and other wrestlers have done it. It's not, Randy is just the one that I always, that was on the top of my head, but it happens. But I also think another reason, Mina is coming in. She just finished in Stardom. She had her last show a couple days ago. And I think Mina coming there is a huge incentive for her to stay because of that relationship. They're obviously extremely close. And also, she has to go to WWE. I mean, and of course, if she goes, she goes. Yep. But also, when you come to that, she's going to have to tone down a lot of things. There's not going to be any more kissing other women.
No.
in WWE. No. She's going to have to change a lot of the things that she does with her character if she goes there, which I'm sure she's very well aware of. But like they're, so I if she goes, she goes.
Right.
And it won't be because I don't know that it would be because of money, because especially now that the Stephanie Vacker story has come out, I'm sure she heard that and was like, huh. Yeah. Well then.
Let's hope so.
So yes, Jordan, the feud ended the way it did because it made sense. What are we doing here? Exactly. I saw some clear, not somebody I follow, because that lovely For You tab shows me all kinds of things. But it showed me someone who said, because Mariah, well, they saw the report from Dave claiming she was leaving. And so I guess they took that seriously and think she's leaving, and said that Mariah and Toni didn't deserve to main event Revolution because Mariah was leaving. What? Then MJF better not be, he better not be main event anything. I mean, I know he's not at a 5-year contract, but he almost left and went to WWE. He threatened for a year to do that.
1992 through 2011 called. They would like a word about people winning titles and switching companies.
Right? Taking the title with them. That was a whole storyline from CM Punk.
Put simply, GTFOH. Just because I can't say those words out loud on our podcast too many times or we'll get demonetized. Yeah. So GTFOH with that shit.
Yeah. I mean, and I know people say things just to say things, and I know they say it to get responses and engagement. I don't think it was a blue check mark, so it's not like they were getting paid for those comments, but I know people just say shit to say shit. But also I know there are people who really legitimately think like that. And I was just like, and I almost said something. I was like, this is not the app to say it on. I'm going to the Blue Sky app and set it there. And people were responding. They were like, what?
No. No.
Yeah,
No.
I was just
Feed
like,
the good trolls,
right.
please.
I was like, this is
Feed
okay.
feed Hob the troll, not these people.
Right,
They're not worth
exactly.
it.
Fernando says Mae was given everything on a silver platter since her debut. I don't want to hear that Tony fumbled. This is not our Heath Knight situation. Right.
Correct.
The story, they like that's what I keep telling people, like trying to remind them, like she signed with AEW and went to Stardom for 9 months.
Right.
She was there, and they told her, and like he told her, when you come here, I've got this story for you. This story was made specifically for her and Tony Storm. She came in and was given the biggest women's storyline AEW has ever had, and it carried on, and it's technically still going, even though she's not technically in it at this moment. It is still going because Tony is still the champion.
Mhm.
The story's been going for 2 years, and like, so yes, I know, like on when the Dave rumors started to catch fire, Mariah was being more active, but even prior to those rumors, Mariah has still been posting about AEW. She's been posting pictures of the AEW title. She's been posting pictures with her title. She's been posting about her and Mina. She's been posting things because she is still under contract with AEW, and also because I was like, this could be storyline related. They may be bringing her back in soon, if and who knows, maybe they do keep her off TV until she decides when her I don't know when the exact date of her contract is up. I just keep hearing the summertime. Is it through the summer, or is it in June? Does it go, if it goes all the way through the summer, is that all the way till August, which is when so that would be after All In? So do you keep her bench till then? Are they bringing her back in? Is she going to re-sign a contract? I mean, it's far from a done deal. We'll just put it that way. I don't see her going anywhere. But I've been wrong before.
Well, it's wrestling. I mean,
yeah.
Dave also says never say never. It's wrestling, and I actually can't agree with.
Well, people are also using the fact that prior to AEW existing, or her being on AEW's radar, she was she had the PR like the codes, the fan codes for, like, if you buy merch, use my code and get 20% off. Like, she was one of those girls, and she was modeling clothes and things like that. And they think that means because and she posted one time outside of WrestleMania like 2 or 3 years ago and said that she wanted that to be her one day, which maybe 3 years ago that is what she wanted, but it's 3 years later now. Maybe she still wants it, but not right now. Maybe that the people see that post and they're like, oh, that means she's gone, she's going. That's you went.
I wanted to be an astronaut until I was like.
Ago.
I wanted to be an astronaut until I was like 16. And then I found out that I was too short to fly and figured out that I had other dreams. Like, it happens.
Right. Well, and I always
I'm
go
pretty
back.
sure,
And
like, every little boy who wanted to be a fireman didn't grow up to be a fireman. Some
right.
of them did, but.
Yeah. Well, and I always go back to this Hangman quote, and I'm sure Hangman's far from the only person, but Hangman says, yes, I used to want a WrestleMania moment, but that's because AEW didn't exist. But now they exist, and my dreams changed, and I don't want to go there anymore.
That's too much. Okay, that's too much reasonable and rational thinking, I think, for some of the people out there to handle. And it appears that you can, like, wrap up a story and have a good ending to it, and that means the person's going to WWE. This has been going on. You keep pointing this out. You've been like, it's been going on for like a year and a half.
It was happening to Jericho. They wrote Jericho off TV.
They literally did. He's going on Fozzy tour.
People immediately said, is he going back to WWE?
Whatever. What? They mentioned Mox last night on that WrestleMania.
That's good, yeah.
He must be going back to Dean Ambrose must be showing back up, right?
But it's funny because Seth called him Mox. He didn't call him Ambrose.
I know.
He was yelling at Roman and said,
you wouldn't be here if not for Mox.
Yeah, he said, you wouldn't be here without me, and you wouldn't be here without Mox. Technically, it's without CM Punk, because CM Punk is the one who brought the Shield together. But still, I get the point. But yes, I was like, but he said Mox. He didn't call him Dean Ambrose.
Well, that must mean he's going back to WWE, right?
But yeah, I was like, but it just made me laugh. They told Jericho, they're like, Jericho, is he getting inducted into the Hall of Fame? And that's why he's going. Because he's going on tour with Fozzy.
Guys, he's got a rock band.
He has other commitments.
We were in the car recently, and Judas came on the radio, and I realized, sadly, that I know almost every word to this. And we were singing.
Oh, no.
Because we were listening to the rock station. There's some great, 80s, 90s butt rock stations around here because it's Detroit. Yeah. So, I mean, they all came through here. It's fantastic. And sometimes it's just perfect because that's where the AC/DC is at. And you got to have the AC/DC.
Right.
So, but it was cracking me up because we're just sitting there and literally I'm like, I am beautiful. And I'm like, what's happening?
Well, at least you know it because Sammy Guevara does not. Sammy never knew the words.
Guys, come on.
when they were latex gods and Jericho Appreciation Society, Sammy never knew the lyrics. He knew like 2 lines and that was it.
That's okay. I don't blame him. It's not his thing. It's
Listen, the words I know are against my will, so
again, same. It was really I don't but it's like my karaoke brain picks up songs.
Oh, of course,
too, and especially the ones that are that easy.
Oh yeah,
because it's
not. It is catchy. Jericho knows what he's. Listen, that man grew up on 80s rock, hair metal. He knows how to write a song that stays in your head.
Yep. His foray into butt rock is like the simplest and easiest. It's such a duh moment in the even when you read his books, it's like this makes all the sense in the world because he was a giant rock and roll nerd. Like when you read his books, 2/3 of his books they're like old school rock references.
Yeah, there are a ton in there, and it's still this. Nikki and I still reference this all this time later. He was on I think it was a game show or something like that. And he didn't know, I just blanked on the name of the song. Nikki, if you're in the chat, it's the Bonnie Tyler song, Total Eclipse of the Heart. That's what it was. And he was like, I don't know the words of this. I was like, bro, this was one of the most famous songs in the 80s. And then I was like, it's because he only listened to hair rock. The hair metal. That's all he listened to.
And so you have to remember that there was a major, even here in Detroit, and Bob had one. It's tell me it's like Death Before Disco. The local rock station here that put like Alice Cooper on the map and stuff like that would play all those things like late at night. WRIX. They had a thing back in the 70s that they gave out cards that were like Death Before Disco cards because disco versus rock and roll in the 70s was a literal like WCW versus WWF kind of like deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I mean, 2 rival teams. It was literally there were 2 factions in like young adults up to like adults.
Yeah.
Just regular like 20 and 30 something people who would like disco fans or rock fans. And there was no I'm the kind of person I don't care. My music tastes are like just like my wrestling tastes. They're all over the place. Yeah. But this was a literal fight in the 1970s. There, kids, for those of you. That's
back in the 1900s. We fought back in the 1900s. People fought over disco
before the internet.
Rock.
They wrote in letters, and there were local radio stations.
They used stamps and letters.
Yeah, Sean even said WRIF. Welcome,
exactly.
Sean.
And also, hello and happy WrestleMania and Easter for those who celebrate. Thank you for that, Sean. And then Jordan says, saw someone say what else is there to do in AEW, bro. She had one feud with one person winning the world title doesn't mean there's nothing else to do. Yeah, but in that case, then everybody would be gone. Yeah,
right.
There's plenty of things for Tony to still.
Well, according to Triple H, everybody is going to be gone, right?
I guess so.
So this all tracks. So it's perfectly mapped out. They strategized the entire weekend. They booked the whole weekend. Then
you're just going to get a bunch of Invisible Stan and Invisible Man matches. John says, when I was a teenager, I wanted to wrestle in FMW. Young dreams are often dumb dreams.
John,
listen, there's nothing wrong with having dreams. Maybe sometimes in hindsight, they end up not being so great, but dreams, it's good to have dreams.
Smart. And FMW is a lot of fun. That's hilarious.
Excellent. Brad says Mercedes Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go.
Okay. So Brad says Mercedes just got in the ring for her main event match against Kanji. I'll keep everyone updated with how great this match is. Please do, because I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Because I hear good things about Kanji. Fernando says Roman, Jay, and Tiffany should just retire then.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what I was talking about yesterday on that prediction show. I was like, I assumed Charlotte was going to win because it's Charlotte. They're going to have her break her.
That's what I
record.
thought too. Really,
so honestly. But then I was telling him, I was like, Tiffany's title, even though she's wrestled other people, her entire feud since January has revolved around Charlotte because she wanted to face her because Charlotte was her idol, and Charlotte was why she wanted to wrestle. And she even said in her post-match thing last night, I can't believe that I wrestled her. It's still, and that I beat her. It still hasn't sunk in yet. This is what I've wanted for a really long time. And so I'm hoping this means they get her away from Charlotte and she can have a title reign that does not revolve around her, which is like you and we have said this so many times. We need to see Toni Storm and Mariah May away from each other. Who is Mariah May when she's not trying to be Toni Storm and trying to take her title? Who is she? We don't know who she is. She doesn't know who she is. We need to see her away from the title because the title has been the thing that has kept her in Tony's orbit. She needs to be away from that. We need to see her away from that. But we need to, whenever Timeless Tony drops this title, which appears to be August now, who is Timeless Tony for real? Like we got a little bit of a taste of her. She came back as the rookie and she acted as herself. Like so what happens when she loses it again? And keep her, we're going to have to, as much as I love Timeless Tony, and I've said this before, part of me wants her to hold that title forever because I love her. But also,
but it can't last forever. Like
by the time we get to August, that's going to be like 2.5 years of that title being with either Tony or Mariah. That title needs to be set free and put into, that women's roster is more than capable.
I was going to say the women's division is so stacked that it's going to have to change hands.
Right. And so we don't need a Roman Reigns situation here where they have to create a consolation title for Cody Rhodes because we can't take this title off of Roman. Like we've got to, we
so
have
is that what happened?
Essentially, they had, because they kept it on him for so long, they created an extra, they basically, and now he's the undisputed because he has, they did
Cody is the undisputed champion?
He is, yes.
That's because I took what, I mean, I can
only there was for a while, Roman Reigns carried around 2 titles.
Okay. Because I can only read the crowd, and I know what I know from talking to you, and I know what I know from having watched the WWE WWF originally. Because that was I started. Sure. So I've been to WrestleMania, as we know this, we've talked. But so I took it as the reason it was a world title championship with Jey Uso last night was because Cody was still the undisputed world champion. He is
still the undisputed, but they had to make it. It was not undisputed. Before that, there were 2 titles. Roman had both titles, and they wanted Cody to have a title, so they created another one. And then they merged them. And so he is the undisputed champion. And then Jey Uso.
So Jey winning last night, though, was still a big deal. I mean, it seemed like that was what everyone wanted. It is a huge deal.
Yeah. So now they're back to just 1 title apiece, but carrying 1 title apiece because Cody is the undisputed champion and he has the Roman titles were basically combined. And so now now they're back to just each brand has a title now.
I don't want to slag on Charlotte and Tiffany, but I saw someone say that this is the opposite of Mercedes and Athena on that match, even though WWE is trying to sell it as the greatest women's match. I was writing, so I could only watch like parts of it because I got put on the Rey Fenix Chad Gable match. So I was writing about that during the Charlotte Tiffany match. So I was looking up when I could, and it was okay, but then Charlotte kind of started sandbagging her towards the end because I guess because she knew she was going to lose, so she just started sandbagging her. Which goes back to Charlotte going into business for herself 2 weeks ago in Chicago. And it looked like she dropped Tiffany right on her face at one point. Just like
Tiffany chipped her tooth.
Okay.
Somebody said, "Oh no, she's going to look like Mark Briscoe."
Well, there was at one point, and I think maybe that must have been the spot, because there was one point where it was like she looked like she just dropped her on her face, and I was like, wait a minute. And then everyone, and they were like, oh, she's beat up. And you looked and she actually, I was like, and they said, I saw a report
and
this
you can
morning
see she had
that
a cut on her forehead, and I think Charlotte's knee brace cut her in the head, but then she did have a chipped tooth last night too.
This is what you entirely depend on the other person in the ring to take care of you. This is like part of the etiquette and the like, literally like the code of honor. Basically, I've seen now. I've like witnessed it firsthand in the level of like being there for event setups and stuff. It's an insult to wrestlers who take it seriously to do that kind of shit, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and then like we just obviously this has been an ongoing topic, but Nikki and I just watched the Dark Side of the Ring 2 weeks ago on Big Van Vader. And
I need to catch up. They're taping.
Vader harmed someone in the ring, and they talked to that person, and he was like, when you're in the ring with somebody else, you are trusting them to take care of you. And he was a new wrestler. He was 20 years old and had not been wrestling very long when this happened to him. And so like that goes back to this, you are not only protecting yourself, but you are protecting your opponent. And that's why, and I'm not saying she didn't feel bad, but that's why most people feel bad when their opponent gets injured while they're wrestling them, because clearly,
look at like what Okada went through with Shibata. He was like the complete opposite. That guy, like he like suffered for 2 years. Shibata like had to come to him and be like, it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
And then they had to do a whole match even where Okada and him had another match so Shibata could prove, dude, this was just a freak accident. We wrestle hard.
Right.
But it like, and you can tell what kind of person Okada is just from that entire story about all of that, is that it like hurt him what all went on there. And it was like, no, you're young. You were going hard. Shibata didn't hold that against him at any point. But I get it, because I've been a sports person. You don't want to, if you're the kind of athlete that's setting out to hurt other people on the field, in the ring, whatever it is, F you, because you're a dirty player and that's what you are. And you're like, if you can't rely on your skills.
Plenty of dirty ball players over the years for sure.
In every sport, there's the dirty players, and that's sports. But in general, you should be stepping on the field or into the ring or on the court with the intention of playing fairly and being the best player at the end of the match. Yeah. Whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah. And Fernando says, that was ugly what Vader did. And Vader wasn't even he was not in his right mind, but he was not intentionally trying to injure that person. But he also was not taking care of, he shouldn't have been.
Sure he popped somebody. Is this like he popped somebody's eye out?
No, his eye was popped out in Japan.
Okay,
but no, Vader ended somebody's career.
Yeah, that I did know.
Vader should not have. It was. I don't want to. They lay it out what happened. They lay it out what happened. But Vader, even though it was not intentional, he should not have been in that ring in the condition that he was in, and he ended somebody's career because of that.
Okay.
And then Fernando says Stone Cold was almost crippled by Owen Hart at SummerSlam by accident. Of course, wrestling can be very dangerous. I mean, you can go back to the stuff with Draws.
Yep.
He is paralyzed. D'Lo did not mean for that to happen, but unfortunately, Chris Bay is the most recent example of this. That man broke his neck in October.
Yep.
And is now walking. And he's had to work very hard at it, but we don't know if he will ever wrestle again. Like he says, never say never, because he was never supposed to walk again, and he's walking. But clearly, even it's just a miracle that this man is walking after what happened to him in October. And clearly, he was working with the Hardy Boys. They clearly were not, and it was a freak accident, and it did not. Nobody meant for that to happen. So.
Well, that's like Big E. I mean, Big E is a perfect example. Right. And that one, he got, dang, that guy's like doing his, like his bridges and stuff saved his ass, because you don't break that vertebra and walk around or live through it most of the time.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And he fractured. I mean, that's like the worst one to, you're usually D'd.
Right.
That's not a cool one. So.
No. And even
that's wrestling, and they assume those risks. They understand what they're doing, or they wouldn't do like that. I've always said this. You have to love this business to do what
well,
they
and
do.
how many wrestlers have we seen have like broken necks over the last few years that have had to leave wrestling because of it? And some of it is wear and tear. And then some, but you know, like Saraya, she had come back and had neck issues, but there was a move where Sasha kicked her in the back and it paralyzed her again. She didn't mean for that to happen. And like they had, you know, they're still friends and they still talk. And she said, like Saraya said, when she found out she was cleared to wrestle again, the person besides her partner at the time, the first person she called was Mercedes, was to tell her, hey, I've been cleared again. So in most cases, nobody sets out to intentionally harm somebody else. And this business is very
which is why it's
and things happen.
Which is why it's upsetting when you do see someone.
Right. So then you do see, yes, when you saw her, Charlotte,
because the efforts of everybody else are sort of put down by the fact that, and that still, it's disrespectful. I mean, to me, it's
super disrespectful. And in this case, Charlotte is the veteran.
Yeah.
She knows better.
She's
but
a grown-up.
Also,
should be.
In many cases, she is her father's daughter.
Oh, God, yes. Too many cases.
Too many
but
cases.
I mean, I'm glad
it made me laugh because Ric Flair, I don't follow him, but he came up in my timeline last night. And he's like, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. If Charlotte had won that match, you would not be saying that. And he was like, he said that they, of course, because it's his daughter, they had the match of the night. Sir, no, they did not.
Meanwhile, all I've heard are Rikishi won't shut up until 2036 or 2026. So.
Listen, when Jacob Fatu won last night, Haku came to the ring. That's probably the only WrestleMania match that one of his children is going to win a big title at. Not that they won't win at other places, because I think they will, and I think Jacob Fatu will be that person. But like,
that was probably the best match on the whole card.
Yeah, so it's like it just. I get it. Sean says that Jay is one of the few people in the last 10 years to rise up from the tag division slots mid card and win the world championship in WWE. Priest and Kofi are the only ones that come to mind. I'm trying to think, but those, I think you're right, to come from the mid card or the tag division.
You maybe I was there for, so you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else, but yeah, those are the only ones that come to the top of my head.
I mean, it's been rough because, again, I've been out of WWE for 2/3 of the last decade. So.
Well, yeah. Oh, no, that's true. Yeah. Big E did win the top. Yeah. Also Big E. Yes. That would be. Yeah. I think that would be right because. So Big E. Yes. Because Xavier has not won a single title, which is how that's like one of the big.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about
that's the big thing is he had not won anything, and that's what kind of kick-started some of this feud with Big E. Or like leaving him behind us.
Guys, I have like 30 years to go through on it.
Sean says Haku jumped the barricade. I can't see anyone telling him no, go back to your seat. I know that's right. If Haku was coming at me, even at that age, I'd be like, all right, do it.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't F with that guy ever. No, I've read the Sheik's book, or I read the book about the Sheik. I'm not having it. No, stay away from that. Get out of their way. Yes.
And so I guess we'll circle. I think now that we got the Mariah and we'll talk a little bit about, because I did not, unfortunately, because I was doing other things, I have not had a chance to listen to Jeremy and Steven talk about the New Japan stuff. But clearly there's been a lot going on in New Japan because
no kidding.
So the Jeffrey Cobb rumor ended up being true that we talked about on this very show like 3 weeks ago. Ended up being true. He had already made his decision to go, and they belted him anyway, which they've done before. They did it with Carl Anderson. At least Jeff Cobb did not take that title with him like Carl Anderson did.
Now, was Callum Newman kayfabe upset or literal upset? Because I wouldn't.
I assume kayfabe upset because I assume he already knew that Jeff was leaving. Okay. So I assume that it was that. That's my assumption. Okay. I haven't watched Jeff's last match yet. I followed Jeff on Instagram, so I've seen his stories, and he clearly, I saw that he was crying after the match, and I saw him crying and embracing Tana, like that. Then he Friday, I guess it was, he posted the picture in the ring. You see the New Japan logo behind him. And he used the words, then, now, and forever. But he had little arrows and a heart pointing to the logo. So he was talking about New Japan, but also seemingly confirmed the rumors that he is in fact headed to WWE. There have been some rumors that he is potentially the person who is answering Randy Orton's open challenge this evening. I think
I was going to say, is there a chance of him showing up tonight?
I think it's too much of a turnaround because he just wrestled in Japan.
Okay.
Friday night, which I guess would have been Saturday morning for us. So I don't know if the turnaround time would give him enough. I mean, there is a possibility, but I think it's Rusev. Because Rusev was
okay. I saw a lot of people saying that too.
Rusev was seen in the at the headquarters like 2 weeks ago, and they had not confirmed if he had signed. But then Lana also kind of played into the rumor. I mean, she's good at social media, so she could just be playing into the rumors. But Lana tweeted a picture yesterday of her and Rusev. 2 other guys were in the car, and they said they were going on a little road trip, which obviously everybody was like, probably a road trip to WrestleMania. So I think that it's most likely Rusev.
I saw a lot of our normal WWE people in Fight Game Media saying that, so that's what I was. I remember that now.
During SmackDown, a vignette. They've been airing this vignette for Alistair for weeks, and then it finally said, and it had this Friday's date on it. So Alistair is debuting on SmackDown, so it's not him. So it most like they hinted at Nick Aldis because Nick Aldis wants one more match, and Orton punted him. I think they will give Aldis the match, but because this was not supposed to happen, like they didn't know that Kevin Owens was going to need surgery as quickly as he did. I don't think they're going to rush Aldis into that spot. They can easily plug in Rusev, get him the pop, bring him back to TV, do the match with Randy Orton. I think it.
Are they going to have Aiden English come back?
I don't. He's still with TNA, right?
I have no idea.
I think he still does. I think he still does commentary for them, right?
Awesome.
Or no. Wait, they let him go, right?
I
can't remember.
I don't know.
No, Brad, don't put that out there. You hush your mouth with that.
Struck me.
You hush.
Bailey got knocked out, and I was going to ask you.
No, Bailey's not even hurt. This is the storyline.
I know. I figured
they're screwing her once again. Because
so they're screwing her out of a WrestleMania appearance?
Yes.
I didn't think she was hurt for real.
This apparently has been the plan for weeks.
This has
been the plan for weeks, apparently. So again, like I talked about I think I talked about it here last week. So
Becky was the other possibility
rumor. That's been the rumor, which still doesn't make
pictures on her.
But they're still well, she was there last night because of Seth. I mean, she was at the Hall of Fame. She was at the Hall of Fame, and then she was backstage when they showed. Becky posted her reaction to Seth winning last night. She was backstage when that happened. She sat next to Paul Heyman at the WWE Hall of Fame thing. So clearly they knew it. So she probably will be back. I think that's it. Screwing Bailey to get Becky on TV is on brand for them. And if I don't know when Bailey's contract is up, but if I were Bailey, I would leave. Because they don't care about her. Like her WrestleMania, like she won the Royal Rumble last year, and
they didn't let her have a championship shot.
Not even that. They didn't. Well, first of all, they need to get rid of the stipulation that if you win the Royal Rumble, you get a main event at WrestleMania, because the last woman to main event WrestleMania and won the Royal Rumble was Bianca. And then both matches tonight, Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. He should have main evented. They didn't give that to him either. So they need to, but last year they just kept overlooking Bailey, and like CM Punk was posting like Bailey is the winner, like, but he was like doing more to remind people that she was the champion. I mean, the winner than WWE was for a while. Like they just keep screwing her. They do not. They're treating her the way they treat her the way they treat Natty. And they just treat they're people. She's so loved and is going to do whatever they ask of her. So they walk all over her, and it's the same thing they did. They've done the same thing to Natty for years. But they're screwing her out of a WrestleMania spot to apparently seemingly give it to Becky. It better not be Saraya.
Wow.
Brad said, "You want Becky? So you're getting Paige, and you'll like it." Listen, I mean, nothing would surprise me. And yes,
That's evil.
Sean did confirm that
thank you,
Aiden
Sean.
English is still in TNA. I thought that he was, but I haven't been keeping up with it, and that's why I was like, wait a minute, maybe.
Yeah, Paul actually stole. Well, not that it's everyone's joke, but Paul beat me to the joke because on the thread last night he was like, "Oh, Rusev Day, it always sneaks up on me." Drat. So it was funny to watch again because I'm not usually in on the things, so just sort of to kind of lurk on people that are regularly watching and to hear like their reactions to stuff. So it was like, oh, okay, so I guess Rusev, great, that makes total sense.
Yeah, Nikki said they're probably mad that she publicly supports Mercedes. Mercedes tweeted her last night, and she tweeted at Bayley, and she put the little dot on it so that everybody would see it, and she tweeted, and it was a phone emoji, a finger pointing like "you call me," and then it was the smiley face with a money tongue, which I took that as "call me and let's make money over here." As leave WWE.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I took from it. And also it was funny because right around the time they announced AAA, the AAA acquisition, she tweeted Monet changes everything.
Bayley needs to get out of there if they're going to keep doing that.
Bayley posted a picture with Willow at WrestleCon. Triple Nose saw her and told her to sit down. Apparently, this has been in the plan, plan all along. But who the hell knows?
Did they always say that?
And also, he's petty as fuck, just like his father-in-law. So
correct.
Nothing would surprise me.
No lies detected.
So if that's been the plan, then Bayley wasn't screwed, especially if this is built into a storyline. She's been the redhead stepchild of the four horsewomen since Becky became. I don't know if they're still screwing her out of a match that she got a payday.
That's BS.
She's getting a Mania payday. I say whether it's because it's not like they're gonna. I don't think they're like reuniting the. I don't think that Bayley because Bayley isn't she on? No, I was like, isn't she on Raw? Because they had a tag team gauntlet to get to this match, and Lyra is. This whole thing is a mess. Lyra is the women's intercontinental champion. She's not even defending her title. And they had her and Bayley have never teamed together. Actually, let's back that up. Bayley wrestled Lyra on a Monday for her IC title. Lyra retained. Then in the gauntlet match, they teamed up that Friday. They teamed up together as a tag team, have never tagged together before. Were the first team in the gauntlet and beat everybody to get a Mania match to compete for the tag team titles when Lyra already has a title. And Lyra's not even defending her title. Wow. Supposedly, the rumor has been for a while that Becky was supposed to come back and challenge Lyra. Then apparently Becky played hardball. And now we're in the situation that we're in now, where Bayley is getting screwed and Becky is now coming in to get the spot, is the rumor that I have heard. I don't know how accurate that is, but I do know for months the plan was that it was supposed to be Lyra versus Becky for the international championship, because Becky and Lyra when Becky went down to NXT and she won the NXT title for a little bit to kind of, because they were trying to pop some ratings down there, and they got the million views when Becky went down there. Becky won the title, but Lyra beat Becky to become the NXT champion. So the story was Becky was going to come back and try to take Lyra's current title from her. And then something happened, and reportedly Becky hardballed them, and now this is the story we have gotten. Whatever. So it's a mess down there. Brad has given us an update that Mercedes and Kanji just had a 5-star match that Dave will give 4.25 stars to.
Of course, because it's got to be he's got to have that. It's got to be under, and it's got to be a quarter.
Yes, thank you. That's what I thought, that they were on Raw. That's where I was going with that story, was that Bayley is not on SmackDown, so they would probably, I guess it depends on where they're putting Becky, because if Bayley is on Raw, then it doesn't matter if doesn't technically matter if this 4 horsewoman story, because if it's Charlotte, because Charlotte's on SmackDown, Bayley is on Raw, and then it depends on where they're putting Becky Lynch into where the story, if it ends up playing out, maybe it does come back. Maybe they do put Becky on Raw and then they do a story there where Bayley, so then I guess Bayley technically wouldn't get screwed because that's the story, is they're setting up her and Becky. But for what? Because there is no, not that you have to have a title, but I assume Becky is probably not going to not be in a title picture very long. Yes, she should be in Mania defending her IC championship.
Yeah, I'm sorry that sucks. I mean, the only thing I was like, oh, that sucks for Bayley, and
it does suck for Bayley.
Didn't realize how much it sucks. So
yeah, it sucks a lot. Sean says, yeah, and this is stupid too, that neither of the women's mid-card titles that they just created, these titles are less than a year old. Neither one are being defended on WrestleMania, and one of those champions is now in a match for the tag team title. And so Chelsea Green is not, she has been the MVP of the women's division for the past year, who's not a main eventer yet. Chelsea has been excellent in this role as the U.S. champion. And for her not to get it, she's another one of those people that does everything they ask of her. And they can't even get, and she had a match on Friday. It was a non-title match and she lost, even though it was non-title. So
that's dumb.
Yeah, and Roxanne has been jerked around back and forth.
Why are you making your champions look bad like that?
Yeah, because they don't know how to book the mid-card, which is exactly what I said when
you could have ended that sentence
like, they already can't book the men's mid-card titles very well. And so they certainly can't do that for the women. And yet here they are. They each have the Raw has international, SmackDown has U.S. championship, and basically the only person that Chelsea has feuded with has been Mia Yim. She did face B-Fab finally. Nobody, when the women come in, there aren't people, if you have a title, you should have people who hey, I want this brand new title. Let me try. No, that's not happening. It's not happening in either. It's a mess. I know there's a lot of complaints about AEW having too many belts, but you could make the same argument for WWE. And they're barely defending their titles either. So it's very frustrating having to watch it. And yeah, so and then also all of that was because of Jeff Cobb, is what started all of us and started us down this path. So yes, Jeff Cobb apparently is coming soon. Could he be there tonight? I guess it's possible, but it would be a turnaround from his last match on Friday, but airplanes exist. So, and he'd only be flying into Vegas. It's not like he would be flying into the East Coast. So it's certainly possible that he shows up tonight. I think Brad said somewhere, I think the comment got moved, but I think he said something about how he heard, let me see if I can find it, because I had not heard that, and I think people were just talking out of their asses, because
never happens. Come on.
Where is this comment? He read that Cobb might show up with The Rock to screw over Cody and be the heavy for Cena. I think that Seth Rollins is coming to screw Cody. And that him and Paul Heyman.
So is Cody dropping the title tonight then?
Oh, to John Cena? Absolutely.
Okay.
They're gonna have John Cena is about to he's either gonna tie or I think if he wins, is it that he ties Ric Flair or is that he surpasses him? It's one or the other. So John Cena's absolutely, he's breaking it. Yeah, so John Cena's absolutely winning tonight.
So is this what people want?
No, it's not what they want. It's what John Cena's retiring. They're gonna make him break. They don't want Ric Flair having that title anymore. They don't want him having that record. They're trying to get the record away from him. Put it on John Cena, who everybody loves, even though he's a heel in this situation. They want John Cena to break that record. They don't.
So Cody's dream run is just over tonight then.
Yes.
Wow.
And I think Seth Rollins is going to get involved. I think he and Heyman, because he had a favor. He wants the favor. He's earned his favor from Paul Heyman that he asked for last Monday, because it was originally CM Punk's favor, which we all knew, and it was to get the WrestleMania spot because he got the WrestleMania match, so it was to have Paul Heyman corner him last night and not Roman
Right.
Reigns. And he agreed, but was conflicted. And so last Monday, Rollins was like, let me just curb stomp you and I will put you out of your misery. You don't have to, you'll miss Mania. You don't have to hurt either one of them. And then he did some things and then he ended up curb stomping him anyway. And so now he owes the favor. And now that's how that happened last night. And we now see that Rollins. So now Paul Heyman has turned on both CM Punk and Roman Reigns and is now with Seth Rollins, which is how we saw it play out last night. And so the belief is that Rollins gets involved tonight as well to cost cost Cody Rhodes the title. And is he also working with The Rock? Potentially. So.
Wow, that's convoluted.
Yeah. So y'all hate some AEW main events. They've not been my favorite. Listen, I am not defending the AEW main event.
This is one of those times like
but the other company does it too. Is all I'm saying.
Oh yes.
And there's also we know WrestleMania is setting up to because the next big thing is SummerSlam. So a lot of things that are happening now. Of course, there's other pay-per-views, but the next goal is SummerSlam. And then there's the Worlds Collide event with AAA that is happening, which is probably what's happening with Chad Gable winning last night and doing the stuff with Vikingo. Is probably going to lead to Chad Gable versus Vikingo at Worlds Collide. Is probably where that's going. So that's it. And all these conversations are unfortunately leading back to WWE. Yes. People talking out of their asses on the internet. Yeah.
I know what never always.
Ric Flair does have, that's what I think 100%. And I think they've been building for that for years because of that. And it just happens that Cena is heel. Stop it, Brad. Brad, quit putting
I actually, that's funny, Brad.
First.
I have a friend who said the same, I had a friend say that there was he felt like he was one of his bold predictions was Trump coming out. He was hoping that he would have to come out.
That has been because that's been a rumor all week because of the things that have been happening. Okay. But Fightful has said that they would have to have way more security if that were happening, and there has not been an increase in security that they are aware of.
Yeah, and so the Secret Service would come in way ahead
there's a lot, not that it couldn't happen, but there is a lot more that goes into it than him just showing up. And
God, yes.
So, I mean, it's certainly possible. Maybe they have been working on ramping up security and people just aren't aware of it. But from what Fightful has heard, security is normal. They have not brought in an increased amount of security. Of course, maybe they did that overnight. Who knows? But
I mean, they send a whole team like ahead of your first one.
Right. There's a lot that goes involved with it. Just for him to show up for like a quarter at the Super Bowl took a whole lot of planning. Again, not that they couldn't have planned all this, but there's a lot more to it than him.
Well, especially in the wrestling business, because that's what they do. Yes. But still, please no is all I even Lady B last night was like, please no. Let's not have one of these sightings. The fact that that's out there scares the ever living F out of me.
Yeah, people will see. That's why they thought, like, because of the things that Nick was saying, and then the Roman Reigns quote, and then John Cena talking about how he loves Vince, like they thought, okay, is this setting up for him to show up?
I hope not, because Netflix subscriptions are way, way down. And I know some of that's they increased their prices.
They increased their prices constantly
to like $18. Yeah. This most recent increase was like $18 in March. And but prices are going up, and yet again, our wages are not staying with that. So of course.
Yeah. And Sean's theory is that Cena wins, surpasses Flair, holds the title until SummerSlam, turns face somewhere along the line before his retirement. Oh yeah. He's absolutely turning face and retiring as a face 100%.
He has to, he can't leave.
And I will say, I wanted this heel run to be good, and it's been awful.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry.
He can't. His heel promos have been terrible. Cody has flamed him repeatedly and just made him look like an ass, and everything John Cena was accusing Cody of was true about himself, which happens a lot of times with heels. But like everything he said about Cody was a flat out lie. Like we were like, this is not working. His promos are bad. He is not a good heel promo. And it's just, I really, really wanted, we waited 2 decades for this and it has been shit. And now they're going to belt him.
It feels like they missed the boat. Like they missed their window for turning him heel. I don't know.
They did.
But I don't know. I mean, I was only watching a little.
Jermaine says that he confirms what Brad has told us. Brad has said that Mercedes had a 5-star match. Jermaine concurs that Mercedes just had a match of the weekend a few minutes ago.
Nice.
Good for her.
Check that out.
Yes, they are. Sean says Hogan and Flair are unfortunately black eyes on the wrestling industry in today's society, since at one point they were professional wrestling in the United States, and WWE is going to dismiss themselves. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. They have to.
Yes, they do. So going back to contracts before we move on.
Yep.
Also now, Naito did not re-sign a contract. He is a free agent. Some believe that he might go to Noah for a bit before returning to New Japan. The thought is that he will come back to New Japan because he has not only, I mean, we know his knees are the problem, but somebody said real ones know it's Naito's eyes that are the problem, not the knees. He's 42 years old and his body has been through it. But also, I feel like if he were to come to this state, it would be in a Suzuki way where he just goes wherever he wants to. And he was at the C2E2 last weekend and somebody took a picture of his line and it was long. This person said they waited an hour and a half to meet Naito. That's how popular he is here. We've talked about that many times, that he is surprised how popular he is when he comes here.
Oh man, when we were in Canada, we had a guy behind us. I told you this a million times.
Yeah.
That guy behind us went on Collision, lost his mind.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I'm glad that guy got to see Naito because he was excited.
Yeah, right. So bless that. Wherever that guy is, I am sorry. I hope that you are doing all right.
Yeah, me too. Because I feel you.
Maybe Naito will come maybe he'll make a couple of AEW appearances. But I was like, I feel like if that's what he was doing, he'd come do the Suzuki route, just go wherever, make some money,
Suzuki
meet
came
some
here,
fans,
that's why I got
do meet and greets. If that man wanted to, he could come to the States and just do cons, and he would make bank, and he would not have to wrestle. He could just do nothing. They could put him in a situation where he could be in a clusterfuck match where he just comes in.
We have a con going on here at the end of the summer with wrestling. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to be like, hey.
We've got Galaxy Con is in Raleigh. They always bring in wrestlers. Like, he could do the con loop. He could do, like, if he wanted to. I mean, I feel like I do see him going back to New Japan. I think he'll retire in New Japan. But you know, we've talked about it here that Jeremy has long said that when Naito's done, he's done. He's just gonna not wrestle anymore. Is that what he's doing now? I can see that being the case, maybe so. But if not, I can see him going the Suzuki route. I don't see him signing a contract with AEW unless it's just a few appearances here and there, like coming to Forbidden Door. Maybe going to the show at Arena Mexico because of the LIJ, and he could do, he could go down there and do something with, like, his match. He wrestled. There's a tag match at the New Japan show 2 Fridays ago, and he teamed with Teton here, and so he could go team up with Teton at that show if he wanted to.
Bring him in for Forbidden Door. That would be a huge.
Yeah, you could do so I could see, like, I don't see him signing a full on contract.
Have him and Sting wrestle on Forbidden Door.
That would be I love
Sting
them
and
both,
Bryan Danielson in a 3-way.
There you go. Take the pressure off of Naito's knees and his eyeballs. But I don't see him signing a full-time contract anywhere. I see him signing for maybe a few appearances, and he just comes and does Naito things, and then I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to New Japan. But then again, I don't see him. He's not going to have a year-long retirement tour like Tanahashi. He's just going to be like, and it's interesting. I thought about this the other day. I was thinking about this, I think it was Friday. I was like, he keeps calling Hiromu the leader. He was like, you're the leader now. You're like, he's been, and when they've been tagging and when they were tag team champions, he was like, come on, leader, you're the leader now. And I didn't think anything of it. But now I was like, oh,
makes sense.
That's why. And then Bushi is gone. And I have heard that it is because Bushi and Naito are so close that Bushi didn't want to stay without Naito. I don't know how accurate that is, but that was a theory I saw. Like, I knew that he and Bushi were close, but I thought like he and Hiramu were closer. And I don't know what Hiramu's contract situation is and if he would have even have been able to leave. But if that's the case, but that was a theory I saw, was that Bushi is such that he and Naito are so close that Bushi was like, if you're going, I'm going. That type of situation. So I don't know where Bushi goes. Maybe he goes to CMLL. Maybe they show up in Noah together. Maybe he comes and does some ROH appearance. I'm not sure where he goes, but I was quite surprised. And I didn't watch the clip, but I did see that they did a final LIJ roll call after his match on Friday. And I was like, that's going to make me very sad. So I've not watched the clip yet. I may just wait and watch the whole match and watch it all at once and watch the roll call with it so it has more emphasis on it. Brad says, Naito wasn't going to WWE, AEW, or any other American company. He hates traveling to America, and he's far too broken to even get excited about that. And Naito is, and he said, was with the cry face, my number one New Japan guy. Sean says, chaotic intercontinental champion, Maniac Naito in his prime. Chef kiss. Man, when that man was throwing that belt around.
True story.
I miss him. I mean, I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss that person. I love Naito so much, and I just want him to be happy, and I just don't know that that's in a wrestling ring for him anymore. He's
given everything to this sport, and he was a huge part of New Japan's revival.
Somebody said God give Logan Paul's knees to Naito and let Naito let Logan Paul have Naito's knees.
There you go. I'm with this.
I would go sign that.
Stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see where Bushi goes and what he does next. Because I don't think anybody expected him to leave, and so I don't know if people are scrambling on the phone call. Not that Bushi's not talented, because he is, but because it was unexpected, are people scrambling to pick him up, or how?
If they're that close, maybe Naito says we're a package deal, and that's it. Because he's Naito.
But yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Naito says you have to take Bushi with me. Who's gonna say nah?
Right. Also, so I have not had a chance, but go back and watch this last Thursday's episode of Speaking of Strong Style, because Jeremy and Steven were talking about it. And if anybody knows anything about New Japan and what might happen and where Bushi could potentially go or any of that, I'm sure they have really great insight. So definitely go check out their replay. It's on this very network. And their episode, you can't miss it. It's their subject is Naito gone, or Jeff Cobb gone, Bushi gone, Naito gone. It's right. You'll find that
you can't miss it. They're right on the tip there.
So I definitely will try to check that out this week, because I wanted to hear. I was like, man, I want to listen to it, but I was doing. What was that? I was doing some stuff and I couldn't listen then. I know what it was. It was because I took a quick nap before I had to do Thunder Thursday Collision live coverage.
God forbid.
Because I took a quick nap after work, and then I ate dinner and did that. And so I haven't had to. Then there was wrestling, which we have not talked about. I mean, we did talk about Clusterfuck a little bit. But then there was lots of wrestling going on that didn't happen in Vegas. Yeah. Or didn't happen at WrestleMania, I should say, but was in Vegas. And so there was a lot. And I believe that Mel has done some calculating.
I did. I actually do have your numbers for this year.
And I will say, before she gives this number, this is technically incomplete. This is as through 2 a.m. this morning when I finished Ashe. I still have to get to the clusterfuck, but now Brad says that I guess I could watch the whole thing if I want to stretch my time out and get my whole time in. Or I could just fast forward to the end of the clusterfuck, apparently. And then there are 3 singles matches I have not gotten a chance to. I got to go back and watch Mance versus Kenta at Defy. I didn't get to that. I started the Defy show, only got about 3 matches in, but things were happening with my day job, and other things were happening, and I had to cut it off because I was not watching. And then so I have to go back and watch that. I have to go back and watch Suzuki versus Yoshihiko, which was on when I did my 5 must-watch matches of the weekend. That match was on there, and I have heard it was really good. And I heard it was better than Suzuki versus Butterbean, which was a train wreck because I caught the last 30 seconds of that match, and I had heard about it going into it. Heard it was awful, and I caught like the last 30 seconds of it, and nobody knew what the fuck was going on. Suzuki apparently was trying his best to make it work, and it just was not working. I don't know why they thought that. And this was at a memorial show. Like, this wasn't even like a Joey Janela spring break match. Like, this was the memorial show that WrestleCon puts on every year show. Why they thought putting Butterbean versus Suzuki with Dan Severn as the enforcer was a good idea, I don't know. I hope they got their money's worth.
Bob.
Because I watched it, Brad. We're going to talk about it. I watched that match, and we're talking about it in a minute. So I do have to go back and watch Suzuki versus Yoshihiko, and then I also need to watch from that same show. Takeshita wrestled Mao. And so I will go back and watch those 3, and then the clusterfuck. So this is of course incomplete. So this is from Thursday into
right now, basically.
Yes.
and that also doesn't include WrestleMania night 2, obviously, because like I had to ask you. I was like, "And you watched Mania, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, oh yeah."
Yes, I did.
And the Mania, so I added that in there too.
Okay.
So.
All right. So Mel has crunched the numbers, and what do we have?
So as of this moment, you have watched 53 matches at a whopping 19 hours and 6 minutes.
Does this include Collision or no?
Oh, I did not include Collision.
No, because I was trying to figure out, because we weren't, I wasn't sure if we were going to do just Mania.
I didn't put Dynamite and Collision. No, but Collision I went Thursday, because we go Thursday from when the collective starts to tonight at the end of Mania.
Yes. So Collision was live on Thursday, but prior to Collision, I did watch. They split up ROH for whatever reason.
So
they did the prelude to Spring Breakthrough, which is a 40-minute YouTube show, and had 4 matches on it.
Then Collision was 2 hours, right?
Yes, Collision was 2 hours. So I got the entire 2 hours, and what was that, 5 matches? No, it was.
So it would be 21 hours and 6 minutes.
And then the matches there were, I'll have to go back and count.
Maybe I'll update the number tonight at the end of the night as an Easter egg.
That is true. And then I probably won't get to Clusterfuck until probably Tuesday, but I'm going to try to get to the 3 singles matches that I need. I'm going to try to get to today. It depends on how long, because I've got, we'll be doing some Easter things.
Well, maybe as an actual Easter egg, I will give you guys the absolute total tonight on the wrap post show for the WrestleMania night 2, because Salty Scott is doing family things this evening. So I will be joining our official broad, Miss Keela Cash, to do the post show after Mania, whatever time that might be. I jokingly told my friends in the GMT that we might be starting around the time you were waking up, so you check it out.
What time does the night show start? 7? Or is it 7 again?
I think they were both at 7 o'clock. Last night's went till about 12 something.
It was 11. It was 11-ish because the post.
And I think they started around 12:30.
The post show started at 11:30, and we, not intentionally, we watched Jey Uso and Tiffany because we were doing some other things, and so we started Ashe right around midnight, and Triple H was coming out to talk. So WrestleMania itself ended right around 11 something.
So they must,
maybe
and I
there
think they
will
went
be
live around 12:30ish.
yeah.
So,
So we definitely make sure you come back and check that out for sure. And Daza is here. He's late, but he was going to guess that you were wearing a crown of thorns hat.
I try not
Show
to
him
do
what
that
your hat
sort of
does.
thing. Oh yeah,
Daza,
that's
hopefully
right.
you don't have any. Hopefully flashing lights.
Oh
don't
yeah, I
bother
should have
you,
done
but-
that. Hang on, we got to do the trigger warning.
Yeah. So if
Or
flashing lights
if your
bother you,
flashing lights affect you in any way, do not look at the screen right now. For those of you who missed it at the beginning, this hat has look, I'm like a beacon in the night. That's right. Look, I am a
You can do Morse code
WWE
with your
show
hat.
right now.
Yes,
All right, look at my light show.
you can do Morse code with your hat.
I can. Oh, look at that. And there we go.
Yes,
So good. Yay. See,
so
it was
we
worth
now
it.
have Swan, who is here, who is now the third person who has told us that going through Twitter, it looks like Monet and Kanji killed it. We have had 2 other confirmations of that, so now we have a third, which
people, you got to go check out that Mercedes Kanji match. Apparently, that is what your
good for them. It's on the Rev Pro show that is happening on. That is not a Mania show happening around in the US, I should say. So don't go look. It's not on your. It's not going to be with the more than the Mania stuff on Triller. It's with a Rev Pro show. Nikki said that she almost watched the same amount, but she didn't see the ROH stuff because she was doing IRL things. Yes,
God forbid.
So Nikki is right there with me and and then she was tired yesterday and took a nap and missed some of WrestleMania matches. So I think
it's understandable.
you missed 3 matches because she was like, I feel really bad. I was like, I don't think you're gonna miss anything. Go take a nap. I was like, you'll be fine. Sean says, is Butterbean trying to go back to the wheelchair? DDP spent like a year getting him and Lex out of those chairs. It was, from what I saw, again, I saw the very end of it, but apparently, like, neither one of the, like, Butterbean was trying to do it a different way. They didn't really understand the rules. Dan Severn was trying to call it like he's supposed to. Suzuki was doing the best that he could to make it work, and because he's a professional. And then they were like, when we saw it, they were like, the match had kind of ended, and I guess they were trying to figure out how to enforce the rules or something. And the fans were chanting one more round, and I was like, please God, no, let Suzuki leave. And they did not they just called the match. And that match was, I don't know why, that match was supposed to have been the main event, but then it ended up being, the TMDK match ended up being the main. So I don't know if it's because, I know Zach wrestled Bloodsport, and Bloodsport was after that, but I think Zach wrestled somewhere else, and Oku wrestled 4 matches on Thursday. So I don't know if they moved it because one of them wasn't there yet. So the matches the only reason I had no intention of watching Maki versus Nikki, but then I heard about it and needed to see it for myself because I saw the speech that was going around the little promo. Mickey stopped the match to cut a promo. And so I saw the promo, but the promo cuts off and didn't leave. So it just makes it look, it was not a good look. And so I wanted to see the whole thing. So they wrestle like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Mickey hasn't wrestled in a year because she's retired now. It's obvious she hasn't wrestled in a year. She, like 2 minutes in, goes and grabs the mic. Then she says that a lot of people this weekend are going to be trying to put on 5-star matches, and that Meltzer has never put her over, and he's not going to start now. So that led to the crowd chanting Meltzer sucks. And then she says that she doesn't wrestle, she entertains. And then that led into, because obviously Maki's whole gimmick is that she used to be a K-pop singer. And so that led to them singing. So I think that's what the speech was supposed to do, was to get to that part. But when you clip it to just that part, it looked like she stopped a match because she couldn't keep up with Maki and decided to tell people that she doesn't wrestle, she entertains. But I think what she was doing was setting up the singing segment. But then the singing segment was a complete mess. The sound was awful. Maki sings her song, and Mickey tells her, I don't know anything you just said. Great. Some microaggressions.
Oh my god. Come on.
Yeah, I was like, oh wow, we're going right into a microaggression against okay. That's where we're going with
really? That's
Yes.
God, that's so low. Like
it was so WWE. I was
let me pick that rotten fruit off the ground.
Right. It was, but then so Mickey sings her song. It's off key on purpose because Mickey can't actually sing. So it's like kind of off key. She's clearly, I guess, trying to make the song up as she goes. It doesn't make any sense. It's just very. God. It was a really bad. But then, however, I guess Maki could understand her because Maki reacted to something she said in her song. It was really bad. And then they started wrestling again, and Mickey won, and it was 14 and a half minutes. And it was too long. And I heard something somewhere that apparently it was supposed to start out with just the singing, but they couldn't find. It was supposed to start out with the singing and then turn into a match, but apparently they couldn't find the microphone, so they started wrestling first, and then they found the microphone, so Mickey stopped it, and it was not good. But then it was funny because Josiah was like, Dave puts Mickey over all the time and has for years, and talks about like he puts her over for what she's done for wrestling, for women's wrestling, and he's put her over for that he defended her during the Piggy James shit that they were doing. Like he's defended her before for her. So she was like, so I guess he was like, I guess he's referring to 5-star matches, but I love Mickey and she's great, but I don't know that Mickey has had a 5-star match. She's had good matches, but like I was just like, where are you going with this? And so it was just, the whole thing was like this show. I didn't watch the whole show, but our friend Doug did, and he said he was super disappointed in the show. He said most of it was awful. He said, and so they ended. So again, the main event ended up being TMDK versus, like, this match was great except for the one person they put in it. And so they wrestled Hechicero, which of course Zach loves. It's Zach's favorite, his current favorite opponent, Michael Oku, and Flip Gordon.
Oh, wow. Haven't heard his name for a while.
That man he's been in Mexico because nobody wanted to book him here. Part of it, I think, is just because Doug said, is he so dumb that fans turned on him and he had to go to Mexico? And I was like, kind of seems like it. But yeah, he wrestles in Mexico all the time.
Okay. I guess someone finally booked Flip.
Yes, they did finally book Flip. And so the TMDK match, that match was pretty solid. Of course, you got. I would like to see. Now I want a one-on-one match with Big Teats and Hechicero because we got a little taste of it. And now I need a full-on singles match. But Zach was very excited to see that Hechicero was in that. Like he was like, get in here. So nice. Their match was solid. So I did watch. So those are the only two matches I watched in full from that show. I saw parts of other things because we were trying to find where these matches were on the card. And so I saw bits and pieces, but yes. And then what else was there? Yeah. So I need to go back to the Defy. I didn't watch a lot of that. Bloodsport. I know we touched on it before, but Zach versus Jonathan Gresham
was great.
Everything. That was their first match, I think, since 2016. And it was so good.
I like that it was, I don't want to spoilers. If you haven't watched Bloodsport, giving you your warning. So give it a sec. I'm about to spoil a match.
Yes.
But I love that it was a time limit draw. I thought that was perfect. I
think so too, because of the way
because running that match back is perfect somewhere is perfect.
Yeah, wherever I love they run
idea
it.
Of that. Especially since he's kind of supposed to be Zach's foil because he's beaten Zach so many times.
Yes, Zach kicked him Zach, because obviously if you've never watched Bloodsport, there's ring posts, but there are no ropes. But he would kick Gresham in the back,
out
kicked
of the
him
ring.
so hard out of the ring twice. But then but Gresham did it to him too, and just That match was so good.
No, the storytelling was amazing. The kicking using the kicking each other out of the ring, where Gresham finally came back and did it the same, and it was like, now it's your turn. I was like, you two are really killing it right now.
Yeah, it's on my match of the year list.
Yeah. You know what? I would consider putting that. It definitely as an honorable mention, because it just was such, like, for what, and especially on that card. I think, again, a spoiler for this main event. To me, it made all the sense in the world that Josh Barnett would put Gabe Kidd over. I don't know why anyone thought otherwise.
Typically, Josh Barnett has been losing some of his. He wrestled.
He doesn't usually lose at Bloodsport, but
he did lose. But he lost two Bloodsports ago. He lost to. So Timothy Thatcher that he lost to.
It might have been. Yeah, I think
somebody
you're right.
He lost to somebody recently. I did not pay attention to that match as much because Josh Barnett's matches have not been great. Yeah. The last one was.
It was okay. It wasn't the best.
It was not. The last one he was in was not good, and I just don't care for Gabe Kidd. It
wasn't the best one on the show, but it made sense because of
it made sense.
Because Josh Barnett is such a fan of pro wrestling in all its forms and fashions. I did think that was the appropriate way to
for sure.
That.
And the way,
and I don't know why anyone. To me, I know some people were like, I can't believe he did that. He usually, and I was like,
no,
that made all the sense in the world to me.
Like 2 Bloodsports ago, he lost.
Yeah.
And
it made total sense to me.
It makes total sense also because because of the run that Gabe is on his way out. You're not going to stop his momentum here. And
I felt like enhancing it.
Even though Josh is the teacher, he should be beating Josh Barnett, who's like in his 50s.
Yeah,
like he should be Gabe Kidd should be beating Josh Barnett.
No, this was one of those times where Josh Barnett's understanding of professional wrestling was blatantly on display, and I don't understand how anyone could have seen it going any other way. So that for me, I was like, duh. But some people apparently were like, why? And I was like, because duh.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. And then I wish that Layla Hirsch and Jordan Blade had gotten more time. They got like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, that was
I've seen Jordan in other places. Jordan is fantastic.
I was going to ask you about her actually.
Yeah, I've seen them in a couple other places. They actually did wrestle at Ashe before as well. Very good. I wish they had gotten more time. I like Layla Hirsch. I'm a fan of hers. This is her. I think this is a good play. That's the type of wrestling because she does that type of kind of technical style, blood sport style. So I'm glad.
Yeah, that's more her speed.
Her there. Carmen, who I've only seen Carmen Petrovich in NXT. I've only seen twice because I don't watch NXT much. The one I saw her, and I saw the end of a match, and Julia beat her, and then she was on NXT Tuesday, and Thea Hell, who hasn't been on TV in months, beat her in like 3 minutes. But apparently, she has a black belt in karate and is like very good. And even though she lost, like apparently that's what she should be. She is the only WWE wrestler who lost at Bloodsport. Weird. Every other WWE wrestler that wrestled on Bloodsport won their matches except Carmen.
Yeah, you're right.
But
that's true.
Natty versus Mia Yamashita was fantastic.
That was good.
I would love to see that. That's what Natty should be doing. I'm glad that she proved herself in a way that WWE does not see her. Clearly, she's gonna retire there. I don't know how much longer. When she re-signed her deal last year, I don't know how long she signed for. But I would have loved to have seen her come to AEW just because to give her fresh matchups, or I would love to see her go somewhere where she can do what she did last night. But I think Natty is at a point where they will send her to other places. Maybe she goes to, maybe because, they've sent some wrestlers to Noah. So maybe they send her on excursion to Marigold or something. And afterwards, there was a post-match angle with Kenzie Page, who is the NWA Women's Champion. And she is reportedly they're going to do the Crockett Cup, and they're going to have, the Crockett Cup is for tag team wrestling, but they're doing a Crockett Cup. I think it's a 2-day show, and they're going to do so apparently Natty versus Kenzie is going to happen there.
Oh, okay,
so I could see Natty doing more things like that, so now perhaps she goes to Mexico to AAA. Perhaps she goes down there, but Natty killed it. She looked incredible. I loved her jacket, said low key legend on it, which I love that she did that because I think Natty is completely underrated. I don't think she does not get the flowers that she deserves. She does not get the attention that she deserves, but Natty has been incredible for that women's division for a very long time. And now she has her dungeon with her and TJ, and they're several days a week training people. There are people like Dawkins trains with her. That's where Brody Jr. he trains down there.
Awesome.
There's all kinds of wrestlers. People like Jada Stone has gone down there to train with her. Like, people go out of their way to go train with Natty at the dungeon. And it's the Dungeon 2.0 is what they call it. And so I'm so glad to see Natty get that. And I hope that people, I know that WWE will never probably give her the attention that she deserves, but I hope everybody else will, because she deserves it. And I was so happy for her on Thursday. And Sean says that Natty, when she retires, she should be a William Regal, the women's division lead talent scout. Oh, I definitely see that happening. And TJ is so involved. He's so heavily involved in the women's division now. He books a lot of the women's matches for WWE. I think he does SmackDown, I want to say. Maybe it's Raw, but he books a lot of the women's matches there. And TJ is incredible too. So they don't get enough attention, but they're great. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Bloodsport?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Yes, I agree. The comments that Layla said about AEW were concerning and sad to hear. Unfortunately, that's not the first time we've heard those. Joey Janela said some very similar things. Big Swole said some similar things. That she tried to, if you missed the comments, she tried pitching stories to Tony. They'd never happened. She tried to pitch some stuff with Red Velvet leading into, with Red Velvet, and there was stuff for their ladder match. They had a whole story built up to the ladder match that didn't happen. Would have made the ladder match was kind of thrown together in a couple of weeks when they had pitched him ideas that would have, if he had listened to them, would have taken, it would have been a better story for them. 6 weeks before her contract was up, she tried to get a meeting with Tony. She spoke with AEW's lawyers and told them that she felt that she felt like nobody listened to her and things like that. And so she doesn't know if the lawyers told Tony exactly what she said or told their version of what she said. And he was just like, well, I'm not going to. So for whatever reason, a meeting did not happen. And then they informed her I think she found out on her wedding day or around her wedding day that her contract was not being renewed. Which unfortunately, like I said, is not the first time we've heard these stories. Joey Janela has talked about how there was no communication and his contract just ended. I think that Big Swole obviously talked about some things that the same thing kind of happened to her as well. So it seems like a lot of these wrestlers who are on the lower tier contracts have had this happen to them, and it's really unfortunate. And you would think by now they'd figure out how to talk to the talent better and do these things better, especially when you have Christopher Daniels, who is part of this stuff. You have Sean Dean, who helps book talent for ROH and stuff like that. He has people that he can go to if he himself does not have time. And I hope that that's something that they figure out, because that shouldn't be happening. And if you're not going to keep a talent, you need to talk to them about it. But if talent is trying to meet with you, and I know that I know Tony does not have the time to listen to every single thing, but you have people that you can delegate those things to, especially in Ring of Honor, where we keep talking about this being an issue. So I was not at all surprised that Layla had that situation, which is even more unfortunate because now we're getting a women's pure title, and Layla would have been perfect to
that's something
even if she didn't win it, she would have been perfect
for the chase,
compete for it or be in the division. So unfortunately, I was really sad to hear about that. So I hope somebody takes a chance on her, or maybe she works her way back into the company and they listen to her this time. But I hope she lands, because Layla is really talented and I really like her a lot. Ross had Kaz pitch going back to SCU back in ROH, and he left, and Tony turned that down. Well, there are some rumors about why that happened, but apparently one of the rumors was that the fans don't like SCU and he didn't, and that there was that fans had no interest in SCU happening. And so Taz said, "I'm gonna go to TNA," and he's done really well in TNA since then. And sometimes, like we've said, some companies just are not meant for everybody. And look at Ethan Page. Ethan Page, they kept giving him not great, they just kind of kept dealing with stuff with him and relegating him to dark and didn't do much in ROH. And now he's in NXT and he's doing better there. Jade is a better fit for what WWE does. She is a sports entertainer before she's a wrestler. I mean, some people are just better fits, and that's okay. Yep. So, but it's unfortunate that they are not being listened to, and that is what that is a huge problem, and they've got to figure out a way to fix that. Yes. There are 5-year deals, but some people are signing 3-year deals. And I think with Natty, they would probably give her whatever deal she wanted. If Natty wanted to sign a 1-year deal, I think they would let her, but it wouldn't surprise me if she signed 5 years with them because she's on obviously the latter part of her career. And he says, Sean says, you think someone like Dustin Rhodes would be the authority figure backstage at ROH? I mean, he has a wrestling school too, and I know a lot of ROH talent like Abaddon before they and they've been training down there, and that was very evident at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Not that Abaddon's always been really solid, but you can tell that they have been putting in the work. And I know a lot of wrestlers are training with him at his school, so I don't know if maybe that's kind of, and I know that he helps the women's division a lot down there. I believe that the women have come to work with Dustin, and I feel like, so I think he does to an extent, but not in maybe not in an official capacity. And maybe some of that because he has a wrestling school and he doesn't want that. But I hope Layla gets something worked out. But so I guess just to kind of wrap things up. So Effie's Big Gay Brunch, really good. It was a fun show. They only did 7 matches this year, but that was the perfect amount. Abbott, my aunt is here. So that's probably why you hear Miley, that's why. But Effie's Big Gay Brunch was really good. Zack Sabre Jr. wrestled Kid Bandit and Kid Bandit's return match. It was great. Apparently, from what they were saying, ZSJ really wanted to be on this show and asked to be on this show. He and Effie have known each other for a long time. And so he wanted to be on the show. He was really excited about wrestling Kid Bandit. He said it was an honor. He told them it was an honor for him to be on that show. And I guess there were questions on why he is on that show, because I guess a lot of people assume that if you are on that card that you must be in the LGBTQ community. They were saying that they don't know whether or not he is in that community. I mean, there are lots of pictures of him kissing men, other male wrestlers. It's very well documented. And she said that they didn't want to make assumptions about him. But even if he is not, that does not mean that he can't help push that flag higher and carry it higher if he's just there because he's an ally. They've had other wrestlers.
Even if he isn't, why would you not want allies on his level? And also, it's none of our business either way.
Right. Well, that's what she was getting at. She was like, well, first of all, it's Zack Sabre Jr., so duh, of course he should be on this card. And B, what she's like, I'm not going to make assumptions about him. It's not, and that's what she was saying. It's not my business. But even if he is not, why not have somebody of his stature elevate what we're doing? It makes it
more
here?
Important. Well, not more important, but it punctuates the fact that we should all be talented and doing things together creatively, regardless of this stuff that it's none of each other's business.
Right, but I think it's because the assumption is that show is for people in that community.
People's perception is reality for them, and I get that. So.
Right, but there have been Mance Warner has been on that show in the past before. Mance is not he's not gay, but he is a really good friend of Effie, and he's an ally. So they have put him on. Matthew Justice, the same thing with him. So they have had allies be on there before, but I think there is this assumption that to be on that show, you have to be in that community. And they were just like, well, it's not our place to say whether he is or he isn't. But regardless, if you need people to help carry that flag higher, for us, then yes. And Zack Sabre Jr. is an international star. So to
Right.
have him on that show is a huge deal. And why wouldn't they want that?
Especially
I
right
think
now.
right. Because that was what I was going to say. So the main event between Effie and Dark Sheik was very good. The ending was unexpected. It was for Effie is the GCW champion. It was for the GCW title. But then Effie always cuts these incredible speeches, and he had another incredible one, and it was basically just talking about, like, you know, he was putting over Dark Sheik because they're really close friends, and Dark Sheik has Hood Slam, which is her promotion in California, and they have been doing a lot of things, and he was saying, like, what she does is needed, and obviously with the way the current administration is attacking trans people, he felt like it was, because he considered in Philadelphia, he considered that being his last show, but he was like, in the way this country is now, I can't stop. I need to showcase these people. I need to give them, we need to be, I need to be here and use my platform to help them. And then so Dark Sheik cut this very emotional promo about being a transgender wrestler. And she just it was really lovely what she had to say. And she, kind of addressed, there's other transgender wrestlers across the globe, and she kind of was, promoting that. And I saw there's another wrestler who is openly transgender, and she talked about how that she heard that speech and how it inspired her. And so, like, it was very necessary, and it was really moving to hear, even just as a straight woman, it was still really, and it was really to hear that, and how it made me feel. I can only imagine how it made the people
just as a human being,
right?
Like a person who cares about other people and their safety.
So I was gonna say, so like as a person who is in that community, and especially trans people, to hear those comments and to hear that kind of support in wrestling, which is not always obviously supportive, the greatest to anybody who is not a straight white man. What Effie is doing is important, is what I'm getting at. And what Dark Sheik does with Hood Slam is important as well. And to have these spaces, and so to support them, and even if it's just supporting them by watching their shows and stuff, that's something that I will platform if I can. And so I would, if you have the Triller subscription, even if you're doing the 7-day trial, take 2 hours and watch. There was a wrestler that came out that had they had a pride flag, and it says that, said something like queer people will not be erased or something like that. So it was just these statement after statement, but also really good wrestling,
right,
along with it. And and I love watching these shows because I always get exposed to new talent, which is always fun to see. And so I highly recommend seeing that. And then unfortunately, I didn't get Atashe until last night. I didn't get to watch it live because Nikki had some IRL things going on. But if you have not yet, go to ashe.com, go to watch. And if you've got the money, pay $15 and watch the show, because it was really great. It was 6 matches, I believe, about a 2-hour show. There was some really fun stuff on there. Then they made the announcement that there's going to be a women's title. They just named a men's champion. They just had to crown their first men's champion in December, and they announced that they had the title. They brought out Jazz to do it. It was Jazz and Faye Jackson. They're having a tournament, and the tournament actually started at the Ashe show. They ended up turning Jada Stone versus La Negra Rosa into a tournament match. And then Faye, Jazz informed Faye that she was going to be in the tournament. And so it was really cool. I don't know when they're planning on crowning a champion. So they are doing a tournament for that. There was really good Charity King. So the King Bees wrestled Fire and Flava, which is Kiera Hogan. Finally, it took us a year to get to this because Kiera got injured.
Kiera hurt, right?
Yeah, Kiera was injured, and then they thought the match was going to happen, and she wasn't cleared yet because she had a shoulder injury. So this match was basically has been in the making since the very first show, because Kiera was on the first show, and she wrestled Charity King, and then they brought in Danny B, and they brought in, and when Tasha couldn't get there, so they had Jada Stone wrestle, which they brought that story back into Ashe. So you'll see that, because Jada was supposed to step in for one of them, and it just Jada, they lost, and so they confronted Jada about it last night. So or not last night, but on the show, and they had like there was just some really good stuff. There was new people, like Kenny King was on that show because Kenny King is from Vegas. Kenny King they had a big 10-man all-star match. It was Team Darius Carter versus Team Darius Lockhart.
Nice.
They had the return of Ian Maxwell, who had been injured, and he was in one of those matches. Man Like DeReese wrestled Leon Slater. It was supposed to be Leon versus ACH, but ACH ended up not being able to come for whatever reason. And so they put him with Leon Slater, and I didn't realize, Man Like DeReese, I didn't realize that they tagged together in the UK. And so they knew each other really well, and it showed in that match. They had a really, really good match. So I would definitely recommend checking that show out if you can. And their next show in Charlotte is June 28th. And we're getting the rematch between Darius Carter and Darius Lockhart.
Ooh.
That was the match in December where Darius Carter won the Ashe men's title. He beat Darius Lockhart to win that title. We're getting a rematch in June. Also, at that show, I'm wearing the shirt because of it. They announced Cedric Alexander is making his return to Charlotte for the first time since he's been in WWE.
Wow.
He is, his 90 days is almost up. I think it's May 7th. So he will be on the June 28th show. They've got a poster. It said Return of the King, and it has a picture of Cedric. And I'm so excited to see him. And Swole was, speaking of Cedric, Swole was on commentary for that show,
nice.
for the Ashe show. It's her and Chris Lee. And
right.
what is his name? I just blanked on it. Kevin on Stage, I think is his act, but Kevin was on there too, and he was really funny. But Chris Lee was cracking me up with some of the things he was saying, and he and Swole just had really good chemistry. You've got $15 to spare, and you got 2 hours. Please check it out.
Support a good promotion.
Sorry, man, I can't wait.
No,
I'm
you're
so
good.
excited to see him. Yeah, I heard Maya has Brad says Maya World's killing it on the Joshi shows. Was great to see. She's going to be huge. Maya World, we have talked about a few times. Maya is Athena's protege, so that tells you a lot right there. But Maya she wrestled in Ashe briefly. It was a 4-women match, so she didn't. We got a little taste of her. I hope we get to see a whole match with her. But I'm glad to hear that Maya was killing it, because I think Maya wrestled several shows this week. I think she had quite a few that she did. So good for her. Jordan said, I seem to be cursed to never see a live DeReese entrance. Every time I'm at a show he's on, he's cosplaying someone else, or he doesn't do his entrance. I thought we got it. When was Man Like DeReese was on one of the Ashe shows a couple months ago, and we got it, and we got to do the seat, because you sing and he tells you, he was like, this is he tells you what to say, and he's like, when I say this, you say this, and so it's a very like call and response type of thing. It's so much fun. He had a WWE tryout like a month ago, and apparently they were very impressed with him, which they should be, because he's very good. So if he comes to an indie near you, go see him while you can, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a lot of fun. But yeah. Did you get to watch any? I know you said you had a lot going on, so did you get to catch anything?
I got Bloodsport. I got Mania. I will obviously be watching Mania tonight because I'm hanging out with Keela tonight. I didn't really get much else in. I saw Dynamite and Collision, obviously, because it was just that was like one of the more highlights of my week that really I wasn't expecting to be as good. Right. And the rest I'm just going to kind of have to catch up with as I go, because I did watch Joey Janela's Spring Break, as I mentioned. I really wanted to see it because, well, one of the main, obviously Zach was on it. So of course I watched every Zach had 4 matches, and I saw all of them. So that was like the highlight for me. Sweet. Zach wrestled, who did he wrestle? It was, because Matt Tremont wrestled Suzuki. That was a good match too. Why did I forget who Zach wrestled? I just watched it. It was a good match too. No, Kid Bandit was the Effie's Big Gay Brunch show. It was Bloodsport. Not Bloodsport. It was Joey Janela's Spring Break. No, Joey wrestled Sabu in his final match. That was the main event. So that was Sabu's retirement match. Was a barbed wire
No ropes, barbed wire match because Sabu has done those before. That was the main. It was a very chaotic match.
No kidding.
The
Sabu match is chaotic.
It was, and on top of it being an indie match, and in this, it was a lot. Like, I feel like that's probably how Sabu wants to go. Again, it's wrestling. Who knows if this is legitimately Sabu's retirement match, because we know how that goes. But as of right now, yes, Sandman took 15 minutes to find the ring. He was struggling. And the camera was following him and not really showing what was happening in the ring. And then, like, they showed it one time, and Sabu was just standing outside of the ring watching Sandman. They're playing
Maybe you guys are busy.
They're playing Inner Sandman, like, on repeat.
Wow.
He's doing his thing. Thank you. It's Manders. That's right, because it was a good match. I don't know why I blanked on that. That was actually a very good match. It was one called Manders. Yes. Thank you for that, because Maya totally escaped my brain. I think Sandman, that 15 minutes of Sandman.
You might be tapped out, Sam. You got a lot going on.
It was a lot. But also, I kept hearing Bozilla's name, had never seen her before. Then they announced the match with Megan Bayne, and the internets went crazy. So I wanted to see what the hype was, and Bozilla lives up to the hype. She's very good. She's only 21 years old. I really enjoyed that. I would definitely recommend, like, if you can only watch a handful of matches from spring break, I would watch Megan Bayne versus Bozilla. This was her first match in America. On top of that,
cool.
She wrestles in Japan. She's from Germany, but she wrestles in Japan. And it was really, I really enjoyed it. Vinkin says Bozilla got over in her first match in Japan. Yeah, I can see why, because she got over here in her match with Megan Bayne. And she, like, if you think Megan Bayne apparently is only 5'8", but she looks very tall.
Yeah.
Bozilla is taller than her, maybe only by a few inches. But when they were standing over each other in the ring, like Bozilla is just a bigger, like, she's just like, the size difference between them is just crazy when you see how big, because Megan Bayne has this presentation of being very tall, but like, it's just seeing them opposite of each other was really cool. And who else there? Oh yes, and I did see Jordan Oliver returned, which was very exciting. So the opening match was Violence is Forever put up their GCW titles up against. It was supposed to be Alec Price and Cole Radrick, but Cole Radrick tore his ACL a few weeks ago. He showed up on crutches. He came out there to introduce the person who was replacing him. It was returning Jordan Oliver, who also returned from, I believe, if I remember correctly, he returned from an ACL surgery, and Jordan looked great. Jordan and Alec Price won the tag team titles, which was very exciting. And they're heading to Japan soon too. And so is DPW is going to Japan. They're having 2 shows in a couple of months. So lots of cool things happening there. Vinkins says compared to Joshi, both Megan and Bozilla look like monsters. Yes, for sure.
Godzilla.
Yes, Nikki confirmed that it was the same injury that Jordan Oliver also had, a torn ACL. Ray it says greetings and salutation. Thank you for joining us. David is here in the chat as well. Charlotte Flair did not win her match last night, David. Tiffany Stratton retained her title last night. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news. but Tiffany retained. Vinkins says, I'm just waiting for B to come back to Stardom, but if my timeline's correct, that will be after Grand Queendom. When is Grand Queendom?
That I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Vin can answer it, but
maybe that. You know what? That might be their summer tourney. So.
Oh, right. Is it the one that happens around the same time as?
It
G1?
might be, yeah, because they also the end one
next Sunday.
Oh, never mind. Well, so it's like Best of Super Junior.
Don't they have one that runs around Best of Super Junior or G1? Don't they have?
I think they have both. They may have both.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I thought that was.
Because everybody has a tournament in the summer, just about in Japan.
Yeah, right. That is true. And then that's all we have. Oh, I didn't even get to this. I'll have to probably save it for next week's show. But I have thoughts on Nick Wayne winning. I love Nick Wayne, fan of his. I have thoughts on him winning the ROH title on AEW television.
Oh,
when they could have just done this match at Supercard. Supercard is May 2nd.
Supercard's only like 2 weeks
Supercard is
away.
May 2nd. And yes, of course, he won this title to take the title. He's taken the title into BOSJ. They could have. Supercard is literally a week before BOSJ. They could have done the match at Supercard, and he'd still take the title with him to the BOSJ. And the Portland show is 10 days after BOSJ wins, which is another reason they want the title on him, because he's from Washington. So it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I get all of that. But to do it on Collision, doing it on Supercard, which again, as of right now, has 0 matches announced for it. I mean, I think we're going to get La Catalina versus Red Velvet for the TV title, because she won the #1 contendership on Thursday, but the match hasn't been made official yet. So we have matches that are probably going to happen, but there's been nothing officially announced for a pay-per-view that is May 2nd. It is April 20th, which is on brand.
I was going to say, that's kind of Tony Khan in a nutshell, though.
This is Tony Khan, and when it comes to ROH, we get 2-week builds for pay-per-view.
Well, he's like got the old AEW model working for ROH.
Yes.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, see my dog. Right. My dog knows what time it is. Your dog knows what time it is.
Yes, and so I guess on that note,
so
we will wrap it up, because I have Easter to get to, because I have a family member here. Yes, David, thank you for the suggestion. He says to check out the MAW promotion in Minnesota. And he said it's a promotion that's blowing up on the independents. Thank you for the recommendation. As Mel said, she will be with Keela tonight, right after WrestleMania. So make sure, we'll tell you exactly when it starts. Clearly you can, click the bell and it'll tell you. But if you just want to check on the social medias, we will retweet it on Blue Sky. They aren't using Blue Sky as much, but I am trying to use it to help.
I'm trying to use it too.
Fight Media kind of does and kind of doesn't. So we'll post. I'll try to remember to post over there. Perhaps I will do a run-in. It just depends on what happens with family things, and if I get to start WrestleMania on time and all that, perhaps I will make a run-in. If not, I know that Mel can hold it down, and I'm sure she's going to have some probably similar takes to me.
It'll be very interesting. As I warned, I mean, like I told Keela, there are precious few people in this world that would stay up that late and talk about WWE with.
Keela is one of them, because that would be it for me as well. So
funny. I was listening to the show last night. It was very hilarious, and so I'm very much looking forward to it as well, because it's so much fun to hang out.
Yeah, and Garrett is there live. He was there last night, and it was funny because
he's hashtag in Vegas.
He is hashtag in Vegas. Mel and I and Keela are hashtag not in Vegas. And Wrestling Observer had a poll on what you thought of night 1 if you watched it, and Garrett quote tweeted it, said MJF has a good description of it, and so I responded back with a clip of MJF saying mid, and he was like, that's the one, because it was a pretty mid pay-per-view. And yes, Mel will be here with the hot takes.
yeah Keela,
on the wrap.
I apologize in advance to Keela for having to manage, but I think she seems excited, so I think it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
At least the show. I'm gonna go out with my hot take that the wrap with you two is gonna be more entertaining than what happens at WrestleMania night 2.
Thank you, I appreciate.
I'm putting that pressure on you.
Wow.
But listen, hopefully night 2 is a little bit better than night 1. Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
I only feel bad because Salty Scott won't get to talk. Like, I mean, I know he'll have his takes for the week, but he got the crappy night and I got the better night. That kind of feels like he got robbed a little there, but such is life.
Yes. Nikki saw this. So yesterday, Nikki saw it first that Ciampa had to shave his beard because coming back from the Hall of Fame, he fell, and he posted a picture of what he looks like with no beard, but you could see it with the beard. Like, I will warn you, it's kind of gross. You could see his beard, and you could see he had a nasty gash. I don't know what he hit. Don't know what maybe he was drinking a little bit to celebrate the Hall of Fame, or maybe he fell asleep because maybe he fell asleep walking out of there because Triple H talked for an hour. but he had to shave his beard. Nikki said, "Oh no, Ciampa doesn't match Bob anymore," was what she said to me, and then she showed me.
His loss. Hopefully it'll go back.
Yes, it is his loss. Maybe once the stitches heal, he can start again.
They go back after usually. This is hilarious.
Daza has it on very good. He has it on Good Authority that Meltzer and Alvarez tied the knot, and Vegas Chapel and Elvis did the ceremony.
You know what? You can post that on Facebook, and no one will ever question you.
Yes. Daza said it's true, Nikki. Lots of the Fight Game Media because Nikki said Daza, and he said lots of the Fight Game Media podcasters are heartbroken.
Yeah. Yep. Now he's so close. Almost. It was almost Daza.
They're so sad. Y'all were beard bros. Hopefully it can go back. It'll grow back.
We still have that picture though. So
yes,
we can prove it happened.
Nikki says Meltzer and Alvarez can go back to the Heartbreak
Oh,
Hotel.
nice one, Nikki. Hey, Jeremy and I are very proud of you. We are the pundits in the group, so me and Jeremy.
Okay.
All right, let's get out of here and get our
happy Easter if that's what you celebrate. Happy 420 if you celebrate that. Happy Sunday if you're watching this later in the week. Happy whatever day it is. Hope you're having a good week. We will be here at our regular time next week. Who the hell, knock on wood, who knows what we're going to be talking about next week. It's a crazy time in this wrestling business thing we have.
Indeed. All right, everybody have a great week.